driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And just like that, it is a Monday. It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Everybody, welcome in. Kev Nash, welcome in. How was your extended weekend?
It was excellent weekend, man. I got a ton done, man. I cut the grass again, second mow of the season. There's a family of rabbits living in my backyard. The NFL draft was going, a beagle.
Get a beagle. There'll be no rabbits anymore. Our beagle loves to go rabbit hunting.
Rabbit hunting, eh? Obviously, the NFL draft. Obviously, NBA basketball playoff edition. So it's going down this weekend. Big fun, big fun.
Yeah, lots going down, of course. Excited to be back with everyone here on a Monday. Took a few days off last week to enjoy my bachelor party. Now it's the sprint to the finish line, and that is my goal, to get Nora to the finish line. Like, she said yes to me at my poorest and fattest, so I figure it's all uphill from there, right? Like, I guess I could continue getting poor and fatter, but I don't want to test that theory. But excited to be hanging out with all of you here on a Monday. A lot going on, of course, over the weekend. The NFL draft, and we'll have plenty of reaction to that. Kev's a little upset. I thought that the draft was interesting. The Ravens killed it. Bengals were solid. Browns okay. And we'll kind of dissect everything that happened in the NFL draft. But you know what today is, Kev, right?
Yes, I do.
It's Monday, which means it's a Monday, so it's a feel-good Monday. And every Monday we kick the show off and we tell you what we feel good about. And I'm going to tell you what I feel good about right now. Former Trotwood Madison star Amari Davis, who, of course, out of high school after winning a state championship for the Rams, went on to play for the Green Bay Phoenix in the Horizon League, averaged, I believe, like 16 and 17 points a game in his freshman and sophomore year. Transferred to Missouri out of the SEC, came off the bench, averaged just a hair under 10 points per game, and then announced over the weekend while I was out on the golf course kicking off the bachelor party that, of course, he'll be finishing his career at the Nutter Center with the Wright State Raiders. So Wright State getting a big-time local kid. I've been preaching this for years about how important it is for Wright State to not just get local kids, but to get the local kids. Mm-hmm. Way too many between Darius Quisenberry and Amari Davis and obviously Torrey Patton, who killed it at Cleveland State. Too many of these kids leaving the city, and if they want to leave the city, that's fine. But leave the city and at least give a good, strong effort to recruit these kids. I don't believe that they do a good enough job of doing that. I think it's changed since Coach Trice has arrived on the staff, and that's not a shot at Nagy and them, by the way. They put together a hell of a team. But I do think it's even sweeter when you do it with local kids. They lose a kid averaging 20 a game and Tanner Holden, who's now an Ohio State Buckeye, and they replace him with the kid who averaged 17 a game last time he was in the Horizon League, and another year wiser, averaged almost 10 a game coming off the bench for Missouri. I think that's fascinating. My favorite Amari Davis stat, Kev, was his freshman year at Green Bay. He averaged 16 points a game. He only attempted 4 3-pointers the entire year. In today's basketball, to average 16 a game with all mid-range and just as a freshman, that's what to attack the basket and get all your points at the basket as a solid size guard, not a big size guard, with no three-point threat. I thought that was fascinating. A little bit better three-point shooter now, but man, Amari Davis committing to Wright State, of course, that's big time. That's why I feel good here on a Monday.
Huge, and I just want to rebuttal on that because that was also one of mine. But the fact that he scored that many points without hitting a lot of threes and everything like that. Remember the guy Russ Smith used to play at Louisville? Last time they won a national championship, he was in the backcourt. His game kind of reminds me of that. He's a slasher. He's tough. He goes to the rim with no fear. Very good free throw shooter. And that's exactly what they had before. You know what I'm saying? Tyler Holden, a guy that can get to the rim and everything like that, attack from the mid-range. So they're replacing one guy with another that fits the system automatically. And I just can only imagine come October, November, January, December, the city of Trotwood will be invading the Nutter Center. It's going to be awesome.
It's a Feel Good Monday here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty, telling you what we feel good about here on a Monday. I feel good on this Monday that I've been out on the golf course at least 4 times at this point, and the weather's beautiful outside, so I feel good about all that stuff. But I feel good about kind of what happened over the weekend in the NFL draft. The Cleveland Browns, of course, still rumored to be able to get a guy like a Jarvis Landry. OBJ still available, but they get. Well, everyone knows I'm not a fan of David Bell, the Reds manager, but David Bell, the wide receiver, I feel pretty good about who the Browns were able to pick up. Donovan Peoples-Jones at this point going to be wide receiver number 2 for Cleveland, with Amari Cooper being number 1. Donovan Peoples-Jones has an opportunity to step his game up, especially if Deshaun Watson's not going to have to face a suspension. I think that he's going to have a huge breakout year. Donovan Peoples-Jones led the Browns last year with 557 yards. That's it. That was the Browns' leading receiver last year. So the fact that he's back and going to have a more established quarterback who can make bigger and longer plays, I think that's a huge deal. Playing alongside Amari Cooper and then bringing in David Bell from Purdue, getting him in the 3rd round, I think that's pretty dang good that the Browns were able to get an effective wide receiver in the draft despite not having a first-round pick, trading out of the 2nd, not picking a wide receiver with their first third-round pick and getting him at the back end of the 3rd. I thought the Browns did pretty solid with that pick. That overall very underwhelming draft for the Browns, but I felt good about the David Bell addition.
Thing I feel good about is the Warriors and the Memphis series. I think we might be headed for 7. And if we get 7 games like the one we just had yesterday, going down to the wire, the Warriors won 117-116. John Morant was in his bag. Steph Curry was in his bag. Draymond doing Draymond things, getting ejected and everything like that. And the Warriors come storming back. Jordan Poole was out there balling. The thing about Jordan Poole that makes me laugh the most is every shot Jordan Poole makes, it's like he won the national championship game. A layup, he's celebrating. A 3-pointer, he's celebrating. Like that intensity, that joy of the game, that's what we need more in basketball. We need more of that passion out there, man. If we get 6 more games like that in this series, you better buckle up. You better buckle up because the playoffs have been crazy. We got a real good game tonight. Not so much with the Miami and 76ers game with Embiid being out, but you got Chris Paul and the Suns versus Luka and the Mavs. And Luka is must-watch TV. I love Luka's game. He trash talks better than probably anybody in the NBA right now. And the only bad part about that game is it comes on at 10 o'clock. So this game's not ending until like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I like to save these 10 o'clock games for like the conference finals and the NBA finals, but NBA playoffs has just been off the hook.
All right, it's a Feel Good Monday here as we kick off the week, coming out of the weekend, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. What are we feeling good about here on this Feel Good Monday? Nolan Russell says, I feel good about the Bengals draft, got more speed and athleticism and the defensive backfield. We're going to talk about the Bengals draft coming up. I think that they did a pretty good job, basically, well, for one, addressing needs. I don't mind that they didn't go OL. Look, they took care of the OL in free agency. Could you always add depth in the draft? Yes, but I think the writings on the wall that Jesse Bates is as good as gone after this upcoming season, and I think that they targeted 2 needs with their number 1 overall, or with their first round draft pick. A guy that could play either safety or cornerback, and I think that kind of addresses both. You're trying to replace Waynes. You might be replacing, of course, Bates after this upcoming season. Versatile guy. We'll talk about that coming up here. But yes, I'm sure you do feel good about that draft, Nolan, and absolutely. Keith Tolliver says, no doubt, Kev, hell of a game. I'm assuming talking about the NBA playoffs over the weekend, and Draymond Green's weird flagrant 2 and the ejection.
What did you think?
I agree with what he said, that was a reputation. I love when players when they can actually when they do show a real side to them. Like, I hate when they're a victim to everything. Oh man, the refs are out to get me. Oh, that was a reputation call. He knows that he's a little chaotic out on the floor. And guys like that usually it's an anticipation foul. I think that sometimes, I didn't like it, but I agreed with him. I thought in my head, I'm like, well, if that was anyone else, it's probably not a flagrant 2, but Draymond puts refs in that position all the time.
Right.
So, but it was cool to hear him say that. Usually I get tired of the player excuses after game. I thought he was pretty blunt about it. Clearly he wasn't happy about it, but he goes, yeah, there's a reputation call. So there you go.
Yeah, I saw him hit him in the face and then the jersey grab, but the jersey grab was trying to catch him from falling. But I mean, you're right, and Draymond's right, and everybody that's been talking about it is right. It's a reputation thing, and when you've kicked people in the nads and you barked at LeBron James, you hit LeBron in the face, you hit other people in the face, just being wild out there and being that intimidating factor. These are the consequences ultimately that come down to it. They're not going to give give you the benefit of the doubt. They're just not. And it just, the crazy thing about it all, Chris Paul does the exact same thing. And I love Chris Paul, the point guard, as I call him. He gets the benefit of the doubt all the time whenever he kicks somebody in the nads. He kicked Alvarado in the nads versus the Pelicans like twice. And Chris Paul. But Draymond does it. He gets kicked out like that, man. It's amazing how that works.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, it's a Feel Good Monday. We'll continue telling you what we feel good about. And, of course, you're always welcome to tell us what you feel good about in the chat section. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show. Jump in the conversation that way. Or on YouTube, as Nolan Russell did. Nolan Russell, one more time, feels very good about the Bengals draft. He said they got more speed and athleticism in the defensive backfield. And that's what we're going to talk about on the other side. Of course, we'll recap the 2022 NFL Draft. Bengals fans, Browns fans, Steelers fans, AFC North, NFL fans in general. How do you feel about the draft? Which teams killed it? Which teams could have done better? And, of course, we'll do all the generic draft reaction stuff when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 72. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy, a low near 58. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a high near 75. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome to Allstate, where saving on your auto insurance is kind of like a joyride. You, your car, and an open road. Maybe your best friend, too. The music is chill, and so is the traffic. You and your friend both look over at each other, and then he puts his head back out the window. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Allstate and affiliates offer products and services subject to availability, terms, and conditions.
Okay, let's start unloading the sod over here.
The grass is always greener when Haruka's Lawn Care does the mowing.
And then we want to get the flower bed started before lunch.
They need a new landscaping designer to keep their budding business growing.
Oh, can we double check the incline here? This one needs to drain this way.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole in one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary. Hey, is this line secure?
Franco's cybersecurity firm secured a contract, and that's all we're allowed to say.
We have a green light on hiring.
He needs web security professionals with a military background.
3 teams of 4, 24-hour rotations, but Protocol Zulu is on a need-to-know basis.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, I'm Sales Manager Jason High at Germain Honda Beaver Creek, proud recipient of the prestigious President's Award. We are your local Honda dealer, and we invite you to see our newly renovated state-of-the-art facility. You'll be amazed at our selection, and remember, all new Hondas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit us at Route 35, just east of 675, conveniently located near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I'll see you soon.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get access. Well, not anymore, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide with deals like our Silver Unlimited plan for just $45 a month and no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for $249, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
See Columbus Equipment Company, 7570 New Carlisle Pike in Dayton.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Rob tried to manage his constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating day after day. After realizing it was irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, he found another way and finally said yes to adding Linzess.
Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
I think everyone's hearing that chime in their sleep right now. If you watched all the NFL draft, more power to you. Ratings are in. It was the lowest rated NFL draft in about 10 years. And look, I don't know why people are so, and I laugh at people because everyone's saying, oh, it's ESPN. Well, of course, ESPN's ratings are going down the drain. Well, no, it's because it was just not that great of a draft. It wasn't a sexy draft. The draft is always entertaining and interesting to me, but there wasn't those big franchise-changing caliber talents waiting in the shadows for these teams to go. And, there were no Joe Burrows or Jamar Chases, all right? There were no Baker Mayfield. Sorry, I had to. There were Kenny Pickett's, though. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But reaction to the NFL draft and how you feel about how your teams did. Overall, Kev, when you take a look at the AFC North in general, if you just look at the first round picks for each team, or at least the first picks for each team, the Browns did not pick a player until the fourth pick in the third round when they got Martin Emerson, a cornerback from Mississippi State. I mean, the Browns, it didn't make sense at the time. A cornerback I really like in Troy Hill, who they got from the Rams from, for the 2020 season. They traded him back to the Rams. Right. So that's why, because everyone was confused as to why the Browns would acquire Mississippi State's cornerback and Martin Emerson. They got him at their first pick. With the first pick in the for the Bengals in the first round, Daxton Hill, the safety out of Michigan, Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame, going to the Ravens, and that was a big need for them. That's a typical Ravens pick, and they got 2 first rounders, and they somehow came away with Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum. Typical front office Ravens playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
They flipped Hollywood Brown for a first round pick.
Well, let me ask you, if we rip teams all the time for not giving their quarterbacks weapons. Like the Ravens have been very weird about what weapons they've provided Lamar. And I can't tell if what the Ravens are telling you is what we say that drives people nuts is, well, we're not going to give our okay throwing quarterback elite weapons because that's not going to enhance his ability to be able to do what he does best, which is run. Is that what they're telling you? I don't know. Because I can't tell what you do in the NFL. If you have an average quarterback, do you give him more weapons to enhance the average and try to make him like above average? Or do you give the more, or are they telling you that he's such a great quarterback that you don't need to give him elite weapons for him to be elite, if that makes sense? I mean, there's a reason that the Packers are comfortable not giving Aaron Rodgers all pros all over the place because they're like, well, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to elevate those around him. Are the Ravens telling you that about him, moving on from Hollywood Brown? Because the problem is it wasn't just the caliber receiver he was, and I don't think he's elite, but he's very, very good. But it was the relationship. I mean, those two were best friends on and off the field. So there's that. Like the Ravens are just doing weird things, and I can't get it. But they're doing great things. But they're doing great things at the expense of their quarterback, and that's what I just find odd. The Bengals are doing everything in their power to enhance Joe Burrow. The Browns are doing it for Baker, and now doing it for obviously Deshaun. And then even the Steelers trying to load up on offense, go get Kenny Pickett. Against some of the concerns about Kenny Pickett. You'll talk about that in a moment. But the Ravens, kick-ass draft, but they did it at the expense of their potentially star quarterback as far as being paid here soon. I don't get that, but overall, if you just look at the players they brought in, they crushed it.
I love the trade for Hollywood Brown. I love it because, like we talked about on last week's show, we're seeing the market for wide receivers go through the roof. He's going to want in on that as well. But guess what? Hollywood Brown isn't. He's not on the same level as a A.J. Brown. He's not on the same level as other of these guys that's getting these big contracts or Deebo Samuels. He has trouble catching the ball. He's super fast. He has trouble getting off press coverage. So they line him up in the slot, but he's not a slot receiver because you need to have real good hands to be a slot receiver because you're messing around with linebackers. So they put him in motion a lot so he doesn't have to deal with press coverage and he use that elite speed and everything like that. For me, I think they just was like, all right, well, before you come in here and asking for $25 million a year, we're going to go ahead and trade you. We'll get a first-round pick and we'll get a position of need, which they needed a new center. So they got the best center in the draft for a good wide receiver. So that was my viewpoint. Now, the situation with Lamar in the organization not talking to him, I think those are two totally different topics. Like, yeah, they probably should have talked to him. Like, that only makes sense to say, hey, there's a heads up, we about to trade Hollywood Brown. But we're going to get you X, Y, and Z, so you're not doing X, Y, and Z anymore. So I think it's very important for what the Ravens are going to do in this upcoming back end of free agency, going into mini camps and then cutting players and everything like that, about the guys that they're going to ultimately end up picking up, like in the wide receiver core, because this puts a lot of pressure not only on Lamar, but a guy like Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State that they got last year, also on Rashad Bateman, who they got last year's draft. So the lights are on you guys because we let go of our number one wide receiver because we're expecting you guys to step up because you guys are still on your rookie contracts and everything like that. Hollywood Brown was about to be due up for some big money. So it was like, all right, we'll kind of almost like we always hear with the quarterback, we'll reset. So I think that's what the Ravens are doing. At least that's my standpoint.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. So look at this, though. I mean, the Ravens, the first three picks. Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame, of course.
Goodness gracious.
Tyler Linderbaum with the 25th pick, the center out of Iowa. The center out of Iowa that, of course, was the one that was fluctuating anywhere between the top 10 pick and then by the end of the evaluations heading into the draft was, I mean, Bengals fans were debating of whether or not it would be dumb for them to pass up on Tyler Linderbaum if he falls. Well, they didn't have to make that tough choice. He was taken at number 25. David Ajabo, the outside linebacker from Michigan, and the Ravens, what I find most interesting is this is how you know who the well-run franchises are, because while everyone else is panicking and they see it, like, so the Bengals get obviously Jamar Chase last year. Offense explodes. And everyone's like, that's it. We got to get a wide receiver. We got to do what the Bengals do. So everyone's just losing their mind to go get offensive pieces. The Ravens have just sat back and said, look, we know the core to the success of the identity of the Ravens, and that's defense. And then you go out and get a Kyle Hamilton and a David Ojabo, two guys. David Ojabo, you've seen late first round grades to early second round, which is about where he went. We've felt at 13. But the Ravens to come away with Ojabo and Hamilton and two of their first three picks, all while taking one of the top offensive linemen. I mean, look, good for the Ravens organization. They're a pain in the ass. I still think that's, those are moves that you're going to be talking about those guys for the next 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely. I mean, you got a guy in Kyle Hamilton who can play safety, and he's big enough to play linebacker. So let's just say he gets into the weight room a little bit too much with the Ravens and put on 15, 20 pounds of muscle. You're going to stick him at linebacker. Guess what? He probably still going to have that speed as a safety. So he's going to be able to fly sideline to sideline. You look at a guy like Ojabo, obviously, unfortunately, he tore his Achilles at his pro day and everything like that. But what did the Ravens need? They needed a pass rusher. So, okay, he might not be able to play this year, but next year you get in a first round value guy to come in there next year and probably be a starter for you off the edge and everything like that. And I think nobody in the country has talked more about Tyler Linderbaum than me and you.
Yep.
Like, we know how good this dude is, like, in the whole short arms thing. Like, look, man, I'm not here for the short arms thing. I'm not here for the small hands thing. Can you play the game or not? And Tyler Linderbaum can play. I would have loved for him to be on my team.
Tommy Pennington, a Bengals fan on Facebook, says Ravens definitely had a good draft, unfortunately.
And these are household names. So, so everybody knows who these guys are. These aren't dudes like, well, who is he? What position does he play? Like, these are guys that came away with college football awards. People that, oh, man, yeah, he's good. Everybody knows all these dudes are good off the rip. Like, this is no question.
So Shaw says Ojabo is Suggs. He looks at Ojabo as Suggs, if that's the case. And like I said, the way things work, probably
right
for the Ravens. Matt on YouTube, he says the Ravens taking 2 tight ends is weird. Like he finds that to be, especially since with Andrews, they have the top tight end, one of the top tight ends in football. So taking 2 tight ends, look, when did they take those? Hold on, let me pull that up.
4 and 6, I think.
So in the 4th round, the 34th pick in the 4th round. Kind of. I mean, at this point, when you get to that point, it's best available.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you see them doubled up there. I mean, I'm not saying guys after the 4th round can't cut it. And one of these tight ends both tight ends came in the 4th round. I don't know. I don't know how much stock you're putting into those guys coming in to be instant game changers. There could be development guys that, when Andrews wants max paid, you don't give tight ends max money either right now.
No, he just got paid.
So, but it's like they might be preparing to where that might be a cap casualty if they give Lamar the money that he's asking for, which I think he will get eventually. It's just a matter of when. I think they're preparing for that. I think every move is done strategically for no talent, no matter who you are. Jamar Chase is not safe in Cincinnati when it's all said and done here in the next 2 years. Not because he's not good enough. It's because he's too good and requires too much money for him to fit to the puzzle piece that is going to be able to make the full puzzle with everyone else that needs paid. There's a reason you see guys like Jarvis Landry let go. Jarvis Landry has been the face of the Browns since that 0-16 season when they were able to get Baker in that draft as well as Denzel Ward. But they just moved on from him because it didn't financially make sense. Good guys are going to get cut.
Right.
Good guys will be moved on from, and it's not because they're not good. It's because it just doesn't fit the cap structure that they're in.
Look at Tyrann Mathieu. Look at Tyrann Mathieu. He still can play football, but he's a little bit older. He's still asking for a lot of money. He just got signed by the Saints, and it took till after the NFL draft for him to get signed because, all right, they needed to see what they were going to do in the draft, see if they were going to get a safety in the draft. Ultimately, they didn't, and then they signed a veteran like them. It's going to be tons of those dudes that are going to be signed between now and minicamp and everything like that.
All right, so continuing to go, Nolan Russell, he says the Hollywood trade and the Pats' first-round pick were the worst moves of the draft. Possibly the Patriots aren't really known for being the best drafting football
Definitely
team.
Not in the first round.
But there's something about these bunch of no names that Bill Belichick will find a Pro Bowler within the midst. He'll find that needle in a haystack, if you will. So there's that. But we're going down the AFC North draft board right now. That was a long dive into the Ravens draft, of course. But let's move on to the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns, Kev, Martin Emerson, the cornerback out of Mississippi State. Like I said earlier, had a lot of people scratching their head. Because, they went cornerback last year in the first round. They love taking DBs, especially out of the SEC. They love going the DB route.
Means more.
It just means more. You're right. But they went the cornerback, the defensive back route. And then it made more sense the next day whenever they traded Troy Hill.
Right.
Troy Hill back to the Rams, which is who the Browns acquired him from. The last time Troy Hill played for the Rams, he played in all 16 regular season games and every playoff game that year. Obviously fits that system well. I was expecting more when he got to Cleveland. I don't know how I feel about that, but again, good guys are going to be lost because of that contract of obviously Deshaun Watson. Although Deshaun's contract doesn't take a huge toll on the roster this upcoming season, you still got to be playing chess and you got to be a couple moves ahead.
Yeah.
And that's what Andrew Berry's looking at. Like, sure, we could use him this upcoming season, but we also need to get some of these draft picks back. You're not going to get all your first and seconds back that you lost for Deshaun, but that's where you kind of got to bulk up in the third. They traded back from the second, so they take Martin Emerson, the cornerback out of Mississippi State. They get the pass rusher, the defensive end, Alex Wright, out of UAB with their second third-round pick, Kev. And then the pick I was the most excited about, David Bell, the wide receiver out of Purdue. I think David Bell could just be as effective as some of the top first-round wide receivers that went, mainly because effective as in effective in what his role is going to be. David Bell's not going to most likely be better than a Chris Olave or a Garrett Wilson or Jameson or whatever. But the point is for what his role is going to be. And of course, the Browns have been known to use these guys in punt return and kick return action too. So we'll see exactly how he's used. But I thought that was a very good get considering that was so far back in the third round. And then Perion Winfrey, the defensive tackle out of Oklahoma, I thought that was a sneaky good get late. And then the one that I think is good job, Bengals fans. You're getting your team is getting other teams to mimic you. To see a kicker go in the fourth round. People are forgetting too. I had Bengals fans come at me. I thought you weren't supposed to take kickers that high. I'm like, I didn't really bash the Bengals for taking a kicker last year as much as I did prioritizing the kicker over the offensive line. But I'm not going to go through that same reason. Bengals fans are too dumb to understand why that's a difference. So I'm not going to go into that with you. But the bottom line is the Cade York pick. Who knows? We do know how important kickers are. The Bengals are not in the Super Bowl last year without theirs. I've had fun with my jabs I take, but let's be real. This is how good the special teams and defense was for the Bengals in the playoffs, guys. Joe Burrow went 7 straight quarters without throwing a touchdown. All right, the kicker. All right, McPherson, almost 46 points in the playoff run. I mean, that's unreal. I mean, he single-handedly won single-footedly, if that's a word. He single-footedly won, went on a playoff run by himself when the offense was flat for a good 50% of that playoff run. So that's not a shot at the Bengals. That speaks to their depth. And we overlook special teams all the time. We mock and roll our eyes at kickers. But, man, if he can come in, Cade York can come in and be as effective as Tucker, obviously with the Ravens, and as McPherson with the Bengals, I mean, look out. But that could be a sneaky good pick, if you will. I don't think anyone a year ago thought McPherson's going to be what leads the Bengals to a Super Bowl, but honestly, he led them to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow, I get the face of the run, but without that kicker, he misses 2 of those kicks are not in the AFC title game even. So just throwing that out there. That's the fact, right? There's not a shot, Kev. That's the truth, though. That's just, I mean, that's when the O-line.
You'd rather have Joe Burrow or the kicker?
I'm Joe Burrow, but it's not the same. I'm just saying. I
mean, you got to have a good kicker. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of good kickers, especially in the AFC North. I mean, Boswell from the Steelers is good. Justin Tucker is going to go to the Hall of Fame. Obviously, McPherson proved his worth, and now we're going to see what York does. I mean, he was the what do they call it? Kicker of the year. Was that Luke Rosa award winner in college? So, yeah. Back in his LSU days, was on the national championship team with Joe Burrow and Chase and Justin Jefferson and all those guys and everything like that. So he's got some championship pedigree. Kicked that kick against Florida in the fog and everything.
That was
like
the one playing on loop on social media.
So I mean, you got some boot work.
All right, Kev. So the Browns, your overall takeaway of the Browns in the draft. I mean, when you look at, going cornerback again, obviously moving on from Troy Hill, that was big.
A plus going into this draft, regardless if they picked me and you in the third round. That's how they got those two dudes. But not only that, they got David Bell, who won receiver of the year in the Big Ten. I know everybody, we're Buckeye country. We're going to say Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. They're better than him. Look how high in the draft they went. Well, he was a baller. He's not a burner, but he got hands of glue. So he's going to be the guy that they go to on third downs. Remember, Hollywood Higgins was the go-to guy on third down for the Browns the 1 year that they made the playoffs because he could catch better than everybody on the team. That's what he is. That's what David Bell is. And then another guy that I'm real big on for the Cleveland Browns is Jerome Ford, the running back out of Cincinnati. He played slot receiver in high school. That means he can catch the ball. And it's not like, oh, man, you just line up out there. He was on a team that just had a whole bunch of talent. So, hey, we got to get this dude on the field. He had 45 catches as a slot receiver in high school.
By the way, you know who that is? That's Kareem Hunt's replacement when it's all said and done.
Exactly.
I don't mean this coming up season, but I think that you're right. I think they're going to see what he brings to the table from that aspect. And if he's a guy that can make plays in the backfield through the pass game especially, being a combined runner with it, of course, he could end up being Kareem Hunt's replacement. I think Kareem Hunt will turn into draft picks eventually, when it's all said and done. But I think the Browns want to make a run. I think the Browns want to make that initial run with Deshaun Chubb and obviously, him at that point. But I do think that that's who the replacement was for.
Yeah, it's going to come
similar.
You're probably right. You'll probably end up with Chubb and Kareem Hunt still there on the roster this upcoming season. But Jerome Ford is coming for Dearness Johnson's job.
That's another one. Yeah.
So, one of those dudes is not going to be around in the upcoming season. So, for me, the Cleveland Browns get a A+ because simply they got Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. Those are your first and second round picks.
We're live on Facebook. Head to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page for those of you tuning in on radio, which we really appreciate. What grade do you give the Browns and what grade do you give the Ravens? We got Kev Nash's Steelers and, of course, your Cincinnati Bengals coming up on the other side. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, 518-1410. Give us a call or head to the Facebook page and let your opinion be known live in the chat section. We're also live on YouTube. Plenty of ways to interact with the show, and we're curious everyone's thoughts on this AFC North NFL draft that just wrapped up over the weekend. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash will be back with you live here on 1410 Wing AM when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Jose, how much longer till this dough's ready?
No one can bake gluten-free vegan goodies better than Surrey.
Wait, both Jim and Marion's last days are the same day?
But he needs to whip up a new shift lead without interviews burning his time.
Gotta get interviewing before my calendar is cooked. Oh, can you stop?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Have you experienced foot or ankle pain during or after sports, running, or exercising at the gym? Those nagging aches in your foot or ankle simply won't go away on their own. Podiatric physicians are the most qualified doctors to care for your feet based on their education, training, and experience. Your podiatrist can provide you with important foot care solutions, shoe inserts, and show you how to support your feet and ankles so you're able to compete or exercise comfortably. Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association podiatric physicians are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality foot and ankle care. Ask if your podiatrist is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association so you know you are being treated by the very best. The Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association has been serving the profession and the public for over 100 years, and we look forward to caring for Ohioans' feet for another 100 years. To find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Our freedom depends on secure and honest elections. But the radical left wants to weaken voter ID requirements, legalize ballot harvesting, and even allowing non-citizens to vote. And liberal politicians in Washington are trying to take over our elections, removing Ohio's own local election officials so they can put unelected federal bureaucrats in charge. But Frank LaRose is fighting back. As Ohio's Secretary of State, Frank LaRose fights election fraud, removing deceased voters from the rolls, demanding that every ballot have a hard copy paper trail, and ordering bipartisan audits after every election. It's why President Trump endorsed Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose.
Frank has our complete and total endorsement. You did a fantastic job. Thank you, Frank. Total, complete endorsement.
As an Army Green Beret, LaRose protected our freedoms around the world, and now he's protecting our elections here at home. Frank LaRose for Ohio Secretary of State.
Paid for by LaRose for Ohio.
Is your child eager to learn but overly active, easily distracted, and falling through the cracks in the classroom? Summit Academy is the perfect learning environment for students that need the extra push. Their teachers embrace the academic, social, and emotional success of kids who learn differently. They're a nonprofit, tuition-free public school in Dayton, Columbus, Middletown, and Xenia. They educate all students but specialize in autism and ADHD. For more information, visit summitacademies.org or call 1-844-549-8496.
If you're like most people, you just don't have time to shop around for a used car. You need Drive One Car and Truck in Springfield. DriveOneCarAndTruck.com is an interactive website that allows you to browse through inventory, get directions, and you can even see how the car's price matches up to the market. And if you have questions, you can just hit the text button and they'll text you right back with all the info you need to make a decision. Set up a time to test drive and hit the application tab and apply for a loan online in minutes. They make it easy. Don't buy one till you've been to Drive One. Drive One Car and Truck in Springfield. Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Want to show your favorite teacher some love? Staples has you covered.
Covered how?
This week, earn 20% back in classroom rewards on your in-store purchases to give to your favorite teacher for supplies.
So they can stock up on markers and crayons?
Staples has it covered.
Art and cleaning supplies?
Covered. During Teacher Appreciation Week, earn 20% back in classroom rewards for your favorite teacher or school, plus up to 5% back in Staples rewards for yourself. Download the Staples Connect app to sign up for classroom rewards. Valid in-store only, ends 5/7.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. Looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Hand me that nail gun. Here you go. And here's the fries.
Lunch. Who's hungry?
You know, maybe instead of loading up a nail gun with French fries to feed the crew, we should just order lunch through Easy Cater. Food from all our favorite restaurants.
My bad.
On time and as ordered.
Delicious. Huh. Load up the hot dogs while I think about it.
Some food just doesn't work at work, but Easy Cater just does. Food for work on time and as ordered from over 85,000 restaurants. Order 24/7 at EasyCater.com.
Happy Mother's Day from the Flower Man. This year for Mom, we have beautiful, cutable arrangements at $12.99 and a dozen roses for only $12.99. Inconceivable. Thank you, Flower Man, and thank you, Mom. Roses, arrangements, and flowers from all over the world for Mom. Go to flowermanflowers.com. That's flowermanflowers.com.
Whatever you love listening to, you'll find it on Audible. Best-selling audiobooks, exclusive originals, podcasts, and more. Sign up and start free at audible.com.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. NFL Draft wrapped up over the weekend. It wasn't the sexiest of drafts, as I talked about. It was one of the lowest rated NFL drafts in the last 10 years, but that's not a knock on the network or anything. That's just the reality of it not being a very sexy draft. There wasn't a lot of, next year's draft numbers are going to go through the roof because you're going to have, of course, your Bryce Youngs, and you're going to have, obviously, your CJ Strouds, and you're going to have your big name quarterbacks. And I think that's really what it's going to come down to. So either way, the draft is such a great thing. So many great talking points coming out. And I think that the reason that the NFL does better than any other, pro sport out there is because, yes, even though we talk a lot about it, I mean, it's amazing to me when you talk draft and you talk the top 5 draft picks, you're talking about some of the worst teams in football. The worst teams in football dominate 90% of the NFL coverage the second that the NFL season ends all the way up to the draft. You know what I mean, Kev? It is crazy to me that we spend so much time talking about teams like the Lions and the Jaguars. We're so used to the Browns and Bengals being talked about in this 3-month stretch. And if you think about how bad those franchises have been, and they eat up so much talking points for national shows, even at that, I find that fascinating. But that's just how healthy the NFL is.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. We get to talk about the Jaguars. We get to talk about the Lions and everything like that. Think about it like this in the NBA, outside of the NBA diehard fans, look who's still being talked about. Yep. The Nets, who got swept out the playoffs, they're still a topic. The Lakers, who didn't make the playoffs, they're still a topic. That's odd. That's so odd to me, but I'm an NBA fanatic, so I want to talk about the teams that are actually playing the game. But in the NFL, this is what happens. Everybody gets their just due. During a regular season, if you win games, if you're in the hunt, you get talked about. If you ultimately stink during the regular season, guess what? You're going to get talked about February all the way up until draft time. That's your time to shine. That's your time to be the number one topic on ESPN and everything like that. So the NFL, it just rules the day.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We are live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show, and you can jump in on the conversation. I noticed a lot more YouTube activity today because we are not up on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, which will change here in just a few moments. We're up on the ESPN Dayton Facebook page, so my apologies. We'll get that addressed here shortly. But I appreciate those who couldn't find us in one spot and went to another to get in touch with us. So there's that. But Matt on YouTube, going back to the Browns real quick, says that the Browns love defensive back. They will honestly draft one every year. And I think that's smart because you have to prepare. I mean, 1 in every 3 you draft are most likely going to be a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback if you're picking them in the first round. I'm not saying every time, but the odds are in your favor. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point, you got to play the numbers game, and you got to keep bringing up, even if you're set at a position and you're fortunate to be in a position to still continue to add depth to that. Good for you. And the Browns have been in that space. So I gave the Browns just a B-. I thought that they attacked they got a pass rusher, they got a wide receiver, but I was like, I thought it was an underwhelming draft, but you changed my mind.
You're welcome.
Because you're right, because you got to understand that the draft picks that you trade away, I think that should count into this draft. This draft, had the Browns not traded away a bulk of picks, they would have most likely ended up with a Garrett Wilson or a Chris Olave, right? They would have ended up with a Treylon Burks most likely. They would have gone after one of the big hitting wide receivers, and they still ended up with a very good wide receiver, as we talked about, in David Bell. But you're right, Kev, that first round pick helped them get their quarterback. Mm-hmm. That first round pick helped them get Deshaun Watson. And look at how bad this draft was, especially at quarterback. Deshaun Watson trumps anything else that you could have got with that 13 pick, even a Garrett Wilson, even a Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, all right, a Jameson Williams, whoever. The bottom line is that getting Deshaun Watson, that there's not one other weapon in the draft you could have got that would have made more of an impact on this Browns team, not this just upcoming season, but moving forward, than Deshaun Watson. So for that, yes, getting your franchise quarterback, that's an A right off the bat. And then, of course, the Ravens A+ because they knocked it out of the park. But let's talk about the Bengals, Kev, because the Cincinnati Bengals, I thought that they had a very solid draft as well. The fact that they went safeties and back-to-back picks, of course, safety/corners, versatile safety/corners.
Yeah.
Not just a safety, not just a cornerback. Daxton Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt, very similar. The safety from Michigan, the safety from Nebraska. I thought that was a very interesting strategy on the side of the Bengals. They're basically saying one of these two has to hit. One of you two is the replacement for Jesse Bates when this is all said and done. It's a huge opportunity, but not just being locked to that one. Not just being locked to that one. I would assume that Daxton Hill is going to get the majority of those safety reps when he comes, but getting guys that can make an impact right away at the cornerback position, I think that's key. Eli Apple cannot be your main defensive back there, of course. So you have to have some versatility a little bit. And I think that Taylor Britt as well as Hill addresses that. And then they got Zachary Carter, the defensive tackle out of Florida. I thought it was a very just draft for the Bengals, but there wasn't going to be a big hitter here.
Right.
You're drafting number 31 for a reason because you were kick-ass during the season. So I think that they addressed their number one need because a year from now, we're going to be talking about the contract extension talks with Joe Burrow getting underway. And of course, Jesse Bates. And I think that this addresses that Jesse Bates situation up front. And I think that the Bengals getting these guys, like what I like about this too, Kev, they could have got safety next draft.
Mm-hmm.
They said, no, let's get a safety now. Let's get these guys one full season in, get them on-field experience. And then we might know, right? It'll be nice to head into next year's draft knowing you've replaced Jesse Bates with a guy you've drafted already and developed. I think that that'll go a long way. I like what the Bengals did. I don't know what to give. I'm going to give them an A just because I don't know what else to give them. I don't think it was a bad draft. There wasn't a lot of O-linemen to take. All the good O-linemen were taken off the board by the time it dropped to them. So as critical as I am of this team, I have nothing to be critical of because I think that they've had two kick-ass drafts the last 2 years. This one was just kind of bland, boring, but the results will make this an exciting draft, especially if Daxton Hill or Cam Taylor-Britt Kev takes off. So we'll see what happens.
I get him a B+. Obviously, with Daxton Hill, a dude that can play safety and corner. So, like, he can play the nickel. Like, he's versatile. He's a Swiss Army knife. You can put him basically anywhere in the secondary. He can make plays. He did it his entire career at Michigan and everything like that. Taylor-Britt, he's more of a straight safety. But I know we talk about everything that's going on with them and the safeties and everything like that. But another thing is Von Bell.
Thank you, Tommy Pennington.
He's up too. So it's a scenario that this could be your two starting safeties, not this upcoming season, but the season after that. So you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And like you said, there's no need to stretch for offensive linemen at this spot. You go ahead and fill a positional need because guess what? They did what they needed to do in free agency and got veteran offensive linemen. So you don't need to stretch out there and roll the dice on a dude that's a second round graded guy at the back end of the first round. You go ahead and take the best player available. And it just so happened the best player available is a position of need for you as well with Daxton Hill. I think is a great pickup for the Bengals.
Yep. Very solid draft for the Bengals. I have no complaints. I like that they've done a good job on the last 2 years, which has gone against what I've liked. They haven't forced the O-line picks. They haven't forced them. I think that's a little bit of acknowledging that, okay, we're not the best at evaluating and drafting offensive linemen. Maybe this is what they're saying. I don't know, but I'm just assuming that what I'll give them credit for is that everyone keeps saying O-line, O-line, O-line. That needs to be addressed, but the draft isn't the only way. And sometimes when you have a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow putting his entire future in the arms and hands of rookie O-linemen that for an organization that doesn't draft that position very well, I don't mind that they have not forced that. In fact, they're like, hey, they know they're going to put all their money on the offensive side. The pattern I'm seeing developing here now, and I think it's going to have to be the pattern for them and for most teams, the money's going to have to go heavily flowing on the offensive side. And they're going to have to draft well defensively. Right now, they've drafted their offense, so all the money's on the defensive side. What's happening now, all the money that is on the defensive side of the ball for the Bengals, that money, when it comes off the books, is going to be transitioned to the offensive side. And then they're going to go all rookies on the defensive side or go younger. And I think that was different than what the Browns did. The Browns did it opposite. They drafted, or they did it very similar. I'm sorry. They drafted a lot of their offense, and then they pieced it together on the defensive end as well. So it is interesting seeing what the Bengals are doing, but this draft right there, it tells you, hey, free agency, we focused on our O-line. It was all about defense in the draft because contracts are coming up. Bates will be off the board. Von Bell, thank you, Tommy Pennington. Kev, you mentioned that as well. The Bengals are being smart. It's 3 straight solid drafts. I was critical, of course, as you know, of their non-existing general manager, Duke Tobin. But depending on how these guys pan out this upcoming season, this could be 3 straight solid drafts that kind of reset the perception of Bengals football and shutting guys like me up. So there you go. But yeah, I give them an A. I don't know what else to give them at that point. So now, Kev, let's move on. We've talked Ravens. We've talked Browns. We've talked Bengals. Real quick, Matt about YouTube. He's on YouTube about the Browns. He goes, don't forget getting Cooper for a 5th rounder with Watson in the 1st. Yes. Amari Cooper, Kev, is he the best wide receiver in this draft? I mean, Amari Cooper, is he better than any wide receiver in this draft?
Yeah, because he's a professional already.
And playing with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
look at some of the other
that's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, as much as we're Garrett Wilson fans here, he's still going to be playing with Zach Wilson and everything like that. And we're still unsure about Zach Wilson, even though, Eli Moore had a pretty good rookie season playing with Zach Wilson and everything like that. Sure, why not?
Sure, why not? Nolan Russell goes on to say that he gives the Ravens an A, Bengals B+, Browns B-, Steelers B. So 3 A's across the board for Kinner's NFL draft grades out of the AFC North. So I give the Browns an A, give the Ravens an A, Bengals an A. But what about the old black and yellow, the Pittsburgh Steelers? Kev, your team, to sum up your team's first round draft, of course. Very interesting one at that. This is the post-Big Ben era. Kenny Pickett, the quarterback out of Pittsburgh, goes number 1. I do like George Pickens, the wide receiver from Georgia, with their second-round draft pick. DeMarvin Leal, the defensive end out of A&M. Calvin Austin, the wide receiver from Memphis. Connor Hayward, which I believe is the brother of Cam Hayward.
Sir.
Do they have 3 brothers on their team? The Watts?
The
Haywards?
Edmondsons. Yeah, the Watts. Yeah,
so they have 3.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Not bad. I don't mind. I'm not critical of the Kenny Pickett pick.
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay. Well, hold on, real quick. So when they picked at 20, Kyle Hamilton was off the board already.
Right.
Who would you have taken there? Do you remember at that point watching it? Who was off the board that you were like, okay, no, Hamilton's gone. So, man, I really, what was the name you were hoping at that moment you were watching?
Linderbaum.
Linderbaum?
I went Linderbaum, Devin Lloyd, or Nakobe Dean. And it speaks volumes that Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd should have been the pick, because guess what? They didn't pick up Devin Bush's 5th-year option.
Yeah,
so you needed a middle linebacker, and Nakobe Dean is just that. Or Devin Lloyd is just that. So either one of those could be the guy that replaces Devin Bush, or you could, Devin Bush would be a backup this season or whatever. So that's one. And then obviously everybody knows how much I love Tyler Linderbaum at the center spot. I think he's going to be a beast. And I've been screaming that we need a center all the way since last year with Creed Humphrey going to the Kansas City Chiefs after we passed up on him. So those are the guys that I would have preferred over Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett is good. I think he's good. I don't think that he's going to be great, but I just thought there were other needs that you could have went out there and got, especially when the needs are at linebacker and the offensive line, and you just signed Mitchell Trubisky, not to a great contract, but it's a backup contract. It's not nothing that's going to shatter the world and everything like that. But I just thought oh man, you could have did something more helpful for the team, because everything they did after 1, I like George Pickens from Georgia. I like Austin III from Memphis. He's a speed receiver, a dude that can return kickoffs and punts after you let Ray McLeod walk in free agency. So I like all those other picks. I just don't like the first pick. So I give the Steelers a C, because I don't like the first pick. I pray to the heavens that I'm wrong. I pray to the heavens that Kenny Pickett is the next Dan Marino. How likely is that? Probably not so likely. I mean, Dan Marino's a Hall of Famer. We about to go draft Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back. Has any team ever done that? Drafted Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back? I just don't like it, man. I think you could have fixed the team a lot better than getting him.
The Packers.
Brett Favre traded. They traded for Brett Favre from Atlanta. That's right.
But they went, your
point is right.
You are right.
Oh, so, well, no, wait.
Hashtag.
What? Yeah, the Colts, right?
With who?
And Andrew Luck's done. No, I don't think.
But that was ascending that way. That was going that direction, at least. But nonetheless, so real quick as we wrap up this part of the show, grades. I gave 3 A's to the Browns, to the Ravens, to the Bengals, to the Steelers. I'm going to give I give out. This might be a horrible teacher. I mean, I go Oprah with the A's. Kenny Pickett. I thought that was an interesting one. I don't know what to make of that Kenny Pickett pick. And besides, when did Willis go?
3rd round to the Titans, and that's going to be excellent for him.
So you could have gotten Pickett probably in the 2nd round,
right?
I'm gonna go that B- because you You didn't need Pickett right there. I thought that was a force. They still could have got Pickett.
Right.
You could have got him in the second round and still got Linderbaum. You still could have got it. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, you've persuaded me on 2 today.
Look at that.
So there you go. It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash. We'll be back in just a moment.
Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Progressive presents today's to-do list for your cat.
Take a nap, meow till I get food, walk away from food, move to couch, see human, give cold shoulder. Take a nap, meow till I get
Your
food.
pet has a very busy schedule, so it's up to you to make sure they're protected. That's why Progressive Car Insurance covers your pets for up to $1,000 if they're ever in a car accident with you.
Move to couch, aggressively clean myself. Take a nap, meow till I get food.
Get coverage for your pets with anti-auto policy from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage for cats and dogs included with the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms.
Let's plan on having concessions over there.
Mike is remodeling the old family drive-in movie theater.
Go find Gavin. Tell him the sound team is here.
He'll need a new front-of-house cast and behind-the-scenes crew.
Hey, can we talk staffing real quick? I'm thinking at least 6 per shift.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole in one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary. Hey, is this line secure?
Franco's cybersecurity firm secured a contract, and that's all we're allowed to say.
We have a green light on hiring.
He needs web security professionals with a military background.
3 teams of 4, 24-hour rotations, but Protocol Zulu is on a need-to-know basis.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, won't you stick with me, baby? I'm going to make a lot of bread. I mean both money and actual bread. But right now I need dough, cause my delivery truck's dead. And by dough, I mean money. Trucks don't run on bread.
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with personalized discounts that save you money, Progressive Commercial keeps you humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I need more dough. Need with an N. I need more dough. Need with a K.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
There's a price war in the insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call the Term Lifeline right now and see if you can save 40%. $500,000 plans and up, that's our specialty. Even great smokers rates. Protect your family today. Call the Term Lifeline right now for a free quote. 866-549-TERM, 866-549-TERM, 866-549-TERM.
Poking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends. Join your friends in a fun summer league, adult, youth, mixed, and travel leagues. Poking Bowling Centers have a fun program waiting just for you. All Summer League bowlers get a VIB pass, and full Summer League bowlers get to go to our end of the league party, where you can win a fun night out at a concert. Check a center for more details. Let the good times roll at Poking Lanes in Dayton, Poking Woodman Lanes in Kettering, and Poking Lane South in Centerville.
Get your car out of the garage and cleaned up this spring with 11% off automotive products at Menards. Turtle Wax Max Power Car Wash can provide maximum strength cleaning for any car. The more you use, the stronger the cleaning power becomes. $4.99 after sale price and 11% rebate. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through May 8th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Let's face it, you all have outdoor home projects to do. Mad River Mulch and Topsoil is here to help as the area's leading provider of processed topsoil, garden mix, animal bedding, and mulch. We cater to the professional landscaper, contractor, and the DIY homeowner. That's you. Buy in bulk, mulch, rock, topsoil, and sand. No matter the size of the project, we can help, and we deliver, often the same day. We also carry firewood, bedding, and fuel pellets. Mad River Mulch and Topsoil, just off I-70 and Route 4 in Springfield. Order online at madrivermulch.com.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Leaving a child in a hot vehicle can lead to their death very quickly. Set cell phone reminders or place something you'll need in the back seat so you don't forget your child is in the car. Look for your baby before you unlock. Brought to you by NHTSA.
On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Hour 2, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Ring AM. We're live on the ESPN Dayton Facebook page today, so there's that. So Travis on Facebook, Kev, says just wanted you guys to give a shout out to Andrew Ogletree, drafted to the Colts, 6th round out of Northridge High School, the Polar Bears. So yes, especially you get a lot of those that kind of come flashing through your screen quickly late in that draft, but that is pretty dang cool. Thank you, Travis, for that. But absolutely, again, just to reread that, Andrew Ogletree, drafted to the Colts in the 6th round out of Northridge High School.
By way of Youngstown State, right? I believe he went to Youngstown State. I'm almost positive.
Other news that just came out during that last break, Hopkins just got suspended 6 games. The wide receiver for the Cardinals, of course. And now the Cardinals have been an interesting team this offseason with the kind of the back and forth between them and their quarterback and Kyler Murray. And then they made a splash and get Hollywood Higgins in a trade during the draft. And now the big question is do you think, do they know this? Did the Cardinals know that when they traded for that? Was this move, was them getting, was the fact that they went out and got him, was that done?
Right.
Because they knew ahead of time about the suspension to Hopkins. Like, that's kind of the big question there. But nonetheless, 6 games, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drug policy, league sources tell ESPN. So that would, to me, explain why the Cardinals went out and got Hollywood Higgins. But the thing is, it's a 17-game season.
Right.
Hopkins will be back a month and a half in. Now you have Hollywood Higgins and Hopkins, and you have playmakers. You have big names on both sides of the ball. The Cardinals have a very good roster. Look, this is one reason why they are in no hurry to give Kyler Murray that extension. And I don't even think it's because they think he's not good enough. I think they're just saying, hey, can we just slow the hell down? Do we have to put the money on the books this second? I think they're technically doing the whole, well, what have you really done type of thing. I think they know how good he is. I think they know that he's good enough. I think it's just one of those, right now we're able to get Watt and we're able to get these big names on both sides of the ball because of the fact that we have you on a rookie contract. Now, to him, to be fair to him, that shouldn't be his concern.
Right.
But, he's going to come back and he's going to have a solid run game, a good offensive line. He's going to have Hopkins and Hollywood Brown. I believe Rondale Moore they got in the draft last year. And then on top of that, who's the linebacker they got last year that was really good in the first round? Edmonds, or it's trying to drive me nuts. Either way, they have a good solid defense on top of that. That's why when the Cardinals struggle, that's a collapse. That's not because they don't have talent. That's just a collapse at that point. But nonetheless, I thought this draft was interesting. How about the Jets? You look at what the Jets were able to do and making a splash there. They had a really good draft. The Ravens and the Jets, I don't think anyone touches them. I think Shaw had asked that earlier, which one had a better draft. I think the fact that Ahmad Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson, I think the Jets had a better draft, but I don't think Ravens should feel like they're slighted in any way.
Right.
But I think the Jets had the better draft. And I like the fact that they got Ruckert in the 3rd round. I think Jeremy Ruckert, he's kind of one of those guys you're going to look at in the NFL. If he breaks out in the NFL, that he wasn't major.
We didn't use him enough.
No, like right, like I feel like he's going to be that guy that'll go on to have like a fantastic college or NFL pro career that was just very solid in college. Rutgers, to me, I think the Jets have killed it the last two. The Jets and the Bengals, the last couple of seasons have just had really good drafts. The Bengals, this is the third straight solid draft. The Jets, this is back-to-back elite drafts. The Bengals had their back-to-back elite drafts the previous two, which set up them, picking number 31 because they were in the Super Bowl. I don't know if Zach Wilson's the dude, but he has no excuse not to be the dude. But I love Sauce Gardner going with the fourth pick cut to the Jets right there. I wasn't expecting that.
Man, what a draft for the Jets. And you don't hear that too often, man. I think they made a ton of right decisions, a ton of right moves. And guess what? If Zach Wilson isn't the guy, we've seen teams move off of their first round draft pick faster than ever now. Like they don't have a problem moving on. And that speaks to how the rookies contracts are set up. Like they're not breaking the bank yet. Years past, the rookie contracts used to break the bank and you couldn't maneuver because you had this big rookie contract weighing you down and everything like that. If they need to make a move to a veteran quarterback, say there's a veteran quarterback out there and the Jets are just like kind of like 8 and 9 and everything like that, and they believe like, all right, we get a veteran quarterback in here to throw the ball to Garrett Wilson and Moore and Rucker, and they got this defense with Sauce and Jermaine Johnson, a veteran quarterback could come in there and slide in there and they could just move on from Zach Wilson because we've seen it happen to better quarterbacks than him.
518-1410, by the way, that's the number to open up and jump in on the conversation. Nolan Russell says, yeah, they knew Hollywood trade makes sense now. I mean, are you saying, yeah, for sure? I mean, like, they may not have known. And look, teams are loading up rosters all over the place.
Right.
Nolan, I don't know if that was done specifically for that. It's either very good timing, or I think they probably knew. Caught word of it.
But
I feel like that would have broke during the draft weekend. I don't know why that would. Unless reporters are like, no, there's enough draft news going on. Let's save this for that.
But I could be way off base here. But would you want to roll out there with two wide receivers that are 5'10"? I mean, Rondale Moore's 5'9", Hollywood Brown's 5'10". Like that's just not typical. Like, I mean, I guess it's typical for the air raid offense, which they run and everything like that, which, Hollywood Brown and Kyler Murray are very familiar with from their days at Oklahoma and everything like that. But in that offense, you still need big, lanky, tall receivers on the outside so the smaller dudes can do that damage against safeties and linebackers and everything like that and hit those home run passes and everything like that, because Christian Kirk, he ended up signing a free agent deal with Jacksonville and everything like that. So it kind of like opened up a spot for them to slide in another receiver. I do want to hear some more details about DeAndre Hopkins getting suspended for 6 games, you said?
Yeah, 6 games, first month and a half of that season. Now, the thing is, that's a bigger deal in the AFC than it is the NFC, if that happens. Because what I mean by that is if they were an AFC team, that would be crucial. That would be debilitating right there.
Mm-hmm.
And the NFC, the NFC is going to be I think you're going to see just as much parity in the NFC as the AFC, even though all the talent's in the AFC. I think NFC has a lot of very good to average teams that are all going to be bulked in. I mean, the Hopkins suspension, before you even get to the season where there could be injuries, that's already putting him behind the 8 ball.
Right.
All this dysfunction in the offense. I can see the Cardinals having a very bad season coming up just because usually the loudest team is usually a team that does not have the best season.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cardinals have been loud. Their handling of the Kyler Murray situation, getting into that public spat back and forth, and then now this Hopkins ordeal.
Don't forget about ownership not paying bonuses to the coaches.
So it's been one loud offseason, one big story after another when it does come to that. So there's that. Real quick, college football news. How about Nebraska football coach Scott Frost, Kev, hit with minor penalties for coaching violations? Our guy Adam Rittenberg, who we've had on the show, in fact, we met him at UD Arena. He was in town for the first 4, covering the first 4. But he says that Nebraska football coach Scott Frost received a 1-year show cause order and a 5-day suspension to be served during the championship segment of the 22 season as part of penalties for violating NCAA rules regarding countable coaches. How you gonna have all them damn coaches and still can't win a damn football game? I'm just saying.
So I guess that means those Alabama has all those former head coaches that are what do they call analysts and everything like that. That means those guys are actually coaching the players. Can't do that. And what do they mean suspended during when? 5-day suspension when?
During the championship segment of the season?
What is that?
I have no idea.
Does that mean like the
postseason, like after, like during the bowl season? Like for
it
a week?
Can't mean that, right?
Team? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
So if that's what that means, and we don't know, I guess I'll Google, but like just say, for instance, Nebraska goes undefeated, wins the Big Ten championship. Do you mean he can't coach during the championship? Like the not first four, but the college football playoff? Is that what that means?
Very interesting. And I don't think for them they have to worry about the playoff, but so the NCAA's Committee on Infractions released its findings after Nebraska. They agreed to the level 2 violations and penalties as part of a negotiated resolution, Kev. So the school acknowledges that back in 2020, their former special teams analyst, Jonathan Rutledge, coached Nebraska players during practices and film sessions and also helped with in-game coaching decisions, which violates NCAA rules for non-coaching staff members, as you mentioned. Now, the NCAA limits teams to 10 assistant coaches, and while many analysts are employed, they are not permitted to provide on-field or in-game instruction.
Right.
So an example, Mike Golick Jr., played at Notre Dame, and let's say he was on Notre Dame's coaching staff or was like an assistant that maybe isn't on the sideline for games. He can't be an analyst on Saturdays.
Right.
Very interesting as far as that goes. But, and I always say this, the NCAA, you ever notice the programs that they always hand punishments down to, they're never the sexy programs. Like, oh, we're going to keep Nebraska in check. Oh, that'll get the league's attention. If Ohio State did this, and I don't think Ohio State would be dumb enough to do this, but if Ohio State did this, are they going to get hit with a 1-year show cause? Will Ryan Day be suspended for championship segments, whatever the heck that means?
I'm still trying to figure out what that means. Google has nothing on that, by the way.
Look at Bill Self at Kansas with everything that has happened there. Very similar to the stuff that happened with Miller at Arizona.
Right.
Yep, Arizona is not a sexy basketball school, so it's easy just to kind of punish him, punish that. Let's make an example of them. Damn well, Duke, Carolina, some of these other big schools are doing the same things, but you're not going to mess with the faces of college basketball.
Absolutely.
You're not going to mess with the Bamas, Ohio States of college football. It's always those mid-tier teams that are getting the slap on the wrist from NCAA, if you will, just letting people know, hey, we'll punish you. We'll punish you. Give me a break.
Yeah, I've been saying that for years. I mean, you go ahead and look at North Carolina, their basketball program and everything like that with the fake classes that they had. Nothing's come of that.
Mm-hmm.
You go look at Duke and everything that was going on with Zion. Nothing's happened with that. You talked about the Bill Self situation. Oh, but Penny Hardaway. Oh, we got to handle this. Wiseman, you're done. You're out of here. Penny Hardaway, you're on our list. Like, they pick and choose which programs they want to throw the hammer down to. And it always seems like this. Think about it. Think about when Calipari was coaching UMass. Hit him with the hammer. When Calipari was coaching at Memphis, hit him with the hammer. So you mean to tell me John Calipari you know what? I'm done with that. I'm not going to do that stuff anymore. Now he's coaching at Kentucky is squeaky clean. Come on, man. We know what this is, man. People ain't stupid, man. You guys pick and choose which programs you're going to hit with the hammer, which program you're going to handle and put under the thumb of the NCAA and everything like that. And occasionally they got to drop the hammer on a quote unquote big name program. Occasionally, like Syracuse basketball, they got hit with some major violations and took wins away from Jim Boeheim and everything like that. Ohio State with Jim Tressel, like occasionally they get hit with those type of situations, but majority of the time it's the Memphis, it's the UMass basketball, it's these type of programs that like, oh yeah, they had a good run a couple years ago. All right, it's time to hit them. It's time to get them. Kind of time to show these programs we don't mess around. It's not fair, man.
Yeah, and Scott Frost, I mean, this isn't a good start to a seat. I mean, he's heading into the season with his seat on fire, and I'm pretty sure that this definitely does not help. I mean, Scott Frost is a prime example of why the grass isn't always greener. I mean, sometimes when you're sitting there at a UCF, and, I think if Scott Frost would have known that UCF was 1 or 2 years away from, joining the Big 12, I don't think Scott Frost leaves UCF.
I'm coming home.
Gus Malzahn, doing his thing there now.
Mm-hmm.
That's one reason he'll probably stick around at UCF for a while, because now it's back to being a Power 5 job. So whatever that means as far as that goes. But yeah, like I find that interesting. I think that, that's one reason I believe that Fickell, I think that Fickell knew that what was in the works well before it was announced. I don't think Fickell found out when the rest of us did that they were going to go to the Big 12. I think that's one reason he was not as aggressive to leave Cincinnati. Not saying he won't leave Cincinnati, but at the same time, I think the fact that they were transitioning into the Power 5 definitely helped. I don't think that Scott Frost would have left UCF had he known that he was just a handful of years away from joining the Big 12. And from what we heard last week, Kev, that's going to be done as early as 2023.
Yeah. Very soon.
Everyone said, oh, but Fickell could potentially leave because they're joining the Big 12. I mean, that's still 3 or 4 years from now. That's one more year. So you got to give it time to breathe. You got to let the news be announced. Let everyone be angry because the American Conference, the Big 12, they were pissed at Texas and Oklahoma. They're like, we're not going to let them out of their contract. They're going to let them out of that contract because the sooner you can get rid of them, you can absorb your new schools, and let's get on with the process here of getting everyone acclimated. And it always. Cooler heads always prevail. Yeah, and smarter heads don't always prevail, but cooler heads usually prevail.
They pay their little exit fee and vamos.
And off they go. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. So I have a question, Kev. It sucks when you're a fan of a team that is just so horrible like the Cincinnati Reds. And I have to ask, and I need everyone's help on this, on the other side, which sport is it the worst to be a fan of a horrendously bad team? I mean, if you're a Buckeye fan and the Buckeyes have a 2-year stretch where they win 3 or 4 games a year, how tough would that be? Is that tougher than being a Browns or Bengals fan when they win 2 games, 4 games, or the Browns win 1 game in 2 years? How tough is that? How tough is it right now, Reds fans? 3 wins in the first month of the season. The Bengals had more wins in a month than what the Reds have. I mean, it's pretty damn insane to me. Which sport is it toughest to be a fan of a last place losing team? 518-1410 or head to the Facebook page. I'm going to move us over to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. So I'm going to do that during this pause of the action. So head over to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. But we're going to pick up with this conversation because I'm really curious because the Reds being in last place, and not just last place, but just being embarrassingly bad.
3-19.
Tough to the point to where I can't even watch them. But make sure you tune in tomorrow as the Right Back in action. But you see my point. I'm just being honest with you. It's very tough, right? Like, it sucks. But we have all at one point in time had to watch our team be horrible. But which sport is it the absolute worst? 518-1410. More of the Justin Kinner Show when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 72. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy, a low near 58. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a high near 75. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Folks, when you feed your dog, does he just stand there and look at you? Make your dog great again with premium foods from Homestead Feed and Supply. If it eats, we can feed it. 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
Hi, I'm Sales Manager Jason High at Germain Honda Beaver Creek, proud recipient of the prestigious President's Award. We are your local Honda dealer, and we invite you to see our newly renovated state-of-the-art facility. You'll be amazed at our selection, and remember, all new Hondas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit us at Route 35, just east of 675, conveniently located near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I'll see you soon.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Frickers Everyday Values are even better. Even better. Earn double points on everyday value purchases for a limited time. Download the Frickers app and watch your points double on everyday value menu selections. Monday, boneless frickin' chicken wings. Tuesday, traditional frickin' chicken wings. Wednesday, steak dinner. Thursday, frickin' chicken chunks. Double the points, double the savings, double the value. Make your money go further Monday through Thursday with everyday values when you dine in and download the Frickers app. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
I tend to second guess dinners with friends because they're often interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall. If you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit Creon.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREON.com.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
It's May 2nd, and the Cincinnati Reds are already 11.5 games out of the division. That's all. They could make that up quickly. But how many wins do they have? Well, they have the least amount of wins in all of Major League Baseball. In fact, the team with the second most amount of wins just so happens to be the Tigers and the Royals. They have 7 wins apiece. The White Sox and the Orioles with 8 wins. The Rangers with 8 wins. The Nationals with 8 wins. How about the last place team in the West with 10 wins, Kev? The Reds are 3-19. 3-19. Brutal. It is brutal. The Reds are off to a historically bad start, one of the worst starts, if not the worst start. I think the second worst start in franchise history, 3-19. And Kev, you asked me about the run differential during the last pause in the action.
Yeah, minus 65.
That's it.
Minus 65 runs. It speaks for itself. 3-19. That means you're not scoring runs at all.
You're not scoring runs.
You're giving up runs.
You're giving up runs. It is pretty bad as far as I'm concerned. But my goodness, Mr. Bob Lev, I see you're on hold. I'll get to you here in just a moment. But I threw this out to Kev a little bit ago. That this Reds season, it's beyond tough. I don't even know how to explain what we're going through as Reds fans right now, because I think the thing is, like, we've seen bad Reds teams in the past. We've watched an entire half decade of a rebuild that didn't result in really a whole hell of a lot. And I still felt like, okay, lose with a purpose, if that makes sense. It's tanking. I hate how aggressive people get about tanking, because that's what every team does in all sports. Like, I hate the concept of tanking. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, when we pretended to be outraged, but they were paying the coaches to lose games. Well, they're getting paid to lose games no matter what. So I don't know, but I understand. Yeah, anyways, but point is, the Reds have been historically bad to start this season. And I started to think, I'm like, you know what? This stinks. The Reds being this bad, it has just totally deflated my love for the team of baseball right now. And we just kicked off the month of May. We still have all of May, all of June, all of July, all of August, all of September. That's 5 months. Luckily, there's going to be an overlap heading into the NFL college football season. But for right now, this is it. We are stuck with the Reds for all of May, all of June, all of July. If you'd like to be a sponsor of Reds Baseball on 1410 Wing AM, give me a call. Hell of a spokesperson for our station here. But I don't lie to people. I mean, it's nothing about lying to people. If I told you that they're solid and they're trying hard. This isn't the YMCA. I remember growing up, the YMCA used to have we don't keep score. It's all about just, I'm like, no, we're keeping score. I always loved the parents sitting in the stands. They knew the score. They knew who was winning. They knew who the leading score was. I would laugh when I hear parents say, oh yeah, he averaged like 9 a game in 5th grade. I'm like, we weren't keeping score in 5th grade. How the hell did you know yep, crazy parents. That's what you do. Smart parents, actually. You don't just go out there and play for nothing.
Play to win.
But which sport is it the toughest to be a fan of a Reds team, a Reds caliber team, a historically bad team? I was, when being a Browns fan, when they won 1 game in 2 years, that was pretty damn bad. All right. That was pretty bad. Bengals fans, your team won, 6 games in 2 years? Not as bad as 1 game in 2, but hey, get on our level, would you? But pretty bad. A lot of losing, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of misery, a lot of Sundays that you would have loved to have felt like $1 million, but instead it felt like nothing. I mean, it was horrible, right? Every time you're a fan of a team that just totally lets you down, the way the Reds have done our fan base this year, it is absolutely demoralizing. But which sport is it worst? Kev, for me, I think being a fan of a Reds team is the worst thing that can happen out there, because baseball is the most regional sport of them all. I think that a lot of people that are baseball fans are actually just Reds fans. I don't know how much of baseball fans you are. How much do you actually follow teams outside of the Reds? Now, I do, but I know the majority of you don't. I know that the Reds is very regional. The reason I know this is because the playoff numbers show that. A lot of times playoff ratings go through the roof. For other sports, that's not the case in baseball. Playoff ratings do not go up around playoff time. They go up in different regions, but they don't go up across the board. So you get your typical rating shoots for, your teams that are in markets that are, in the playoffs. The NBA playoffs, say what you want, but we don't have a team here in Dayton. We don't have a team in Cincinnati, or, whatever. Cleveland's out of it, whatever. But the point is that guess what? We watched all those NBA playoff games. Now, for those of you, I don't watch the NBA. That's fine. You don't have to watch it. There's plenty of people that do.
Missed a good one last week.
People will continue to watch the NBA playoffs, even though their team's not in it. People will continue to watch the NFL. In fact, hell, the Browns didn't make the playoffs. I watched every single damn NFL playoff game, and outside of 2, every game came down to the very last possession. Are you not entertained? I mean, come on. The NFL playoffs were great. The college football playoffs, although those games aren't great, you're still tuning in to watch, right? You're still tuning in to watch the championship game. Your team's not in it. Now, yes, the World Series will generate a rating. I get that. But baseball is the most regional of them all. I think of all the sports out there, the one sport that it is the most difficult to be a fan of a historically bad last place team is baseball. Because if my college basketball team is out of it, I'm still in love with March Madness. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to get the benefits of that. If I'm a fan of a 1-win and 2-year team like the Browns were, I still entertained by the Super Bowls, the playoff games, and the Super Bowl, in the draft. I mean, at least there's the draft. If you're an NFL fan and your team is so horrible, the draft, you at least get to all the misery you experience in September, October, November, December, all that. You feel all the excitement and the feeling of hope in April, May, in March, April, and May heading into the draft. So for me, I think it's the most manageable sport to be a fan of a historically bad team is the NFL. because every year you feel like you could turn it around quick. The NBA is still pretty good because, again, the NBA playoffs are very entertaining. It's a star-studded league. You could be entertained every night if you needed to be. College basketball, no matter whether your team's in it or not, March Madness is God. It does not, you can't touch it. The NHL, I'm not going to lie, I'm not as big enough. I'm not a hockey fan to be able to speak to that level, so I don't know where to put that. But for me, baseball has to be the worst. And here's why. I talked about the draft for football. Baseball, yeah, there's a draft, but that's not hope. I saw someone over the weekend say, man, if there's ever an example of a team that's tanking, I don't think the Reds are tanking. I think they just suck. Like, they're tanking for what? They're going to lose 135 games this year so they can get a pitcher for 5 years from now? I mean, maybe. But I think we live in an instant gratification type society now. I think it's tough. That's why baseball to me is so bad, because to be a fan of a historically bad last place team like the Reds, the instant, what you get out of that isn't going to be, you won't know it until 5 years from now. Half the time I can't tell you, the Hunter Green, he was a benefit. He was a result of what season? I guess the 17 season, the 18 season, either way. Like, we're just now seeing Hunter Green from that rebuilding bad Reds team from 4 years ago. He had Tommy John since then. He missed a full almost 2 seasons since then. That's a problem. That's why baseball, it's horrible. The Jaguars, back-to-back years, felt horrible in the regular season, but man, they were on the edge of their seat and hearing the build-up to how they're going to rebuild their team during the draft. Look at Jets fans. That's a horrible franchise. They feel like $1 million right now because of the draft, and they feel confident heading into next season because of the draft. The Reds are going to lose 158 games this year. 3-1-58. I'm predicting their record. You know what you get for that? The number 1 draft pick, and we won't know if it even means anything until 3 or 4 years from now. So for me, Kev, baseball, there is nothing worse than being a Reds fan right now. There is nothing worse than being a fan of a baseball team that is historically bad and in last place. Nothing's worse than that. I can't get on board with anything else, but I think you had a different response.
Listening to you, I think you're right. It must be the day of the swing. You said I swayed you twice.
Yep.
I think you just swayed me. So I agree with you. So just let me play devil's advocate on the other side.
Fair.
NFL. I know all the pusses about the NFL, but the fact that we are on this radio every Monday after the NFL season listening to Bengals fans, Browns fans, Steelers fans, Green Bay Packers fans, and everything like that, the rage that comes with losing a game in the NFL because there's a finite of games. There's only 17 games. Every game truly does matter. So when you start to lose, and you start to lose a lot, and you go 0-16, and your rival is winning games, or a team from your division actually wins the Super Bowl or goes to the Super Bowl, they have those bragging rights. And every Sunday they're talking left and right. Or you go to Frickers and everything like that for the Sunday morning show. The Who Dey Nation is out there having a field day, talking about your quarterback is this, your quarterback is that, your defense this, your coach is on the hot seat. What about that aspect? Because at first I was going to say football, but you brought up a ton of good points that always keep you invested and interested. But the actual every Sunday to Sunday, I think that's more brutal because you remain invested. In baseball, I don't think anybody's invested in the Reds now. 3-19. I think people have totally checked out on the season, and they're saying, just call me when we playing better baseball.
And if you want to sponsor Reds baseball right here on 1410 Wing AM, give me a call.
So what about that?
Sell.
So what about that aspect? Like I said, I agree with you. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate to say, what if it is the NFL because of the weekly gut punch that it is? Because on a nightly gut punch, and you kind of like know that your team is bad, you kind of like, all right, well, it's the summertime. I'll go to the lake. I'll go hang out with the kids. I'll go do this. I'll go do that and everything like that. What about that aspect?
No, you're right. I mean, like, let's be clear. Losing stinks no matter what sport it is. You're right. From that week to week, I mean, it's hard to get into the build-up for your game, or you start laughing when the sports writers put out top 5 keys to this week's game. Keys, like, really? So it's one of those things. And like I said, I think the draft is a fair trade-off for the misery you feel in September, in October, November, December, the misery you feel in those 3 or 4 months. You then get that back in that 3-week or that 3-month build to the draft, that feeling of hope. So it cancels out a little bit. Sure, the winning in the later months of the year is way better than the build to the draft, but look how, the draft is being literally bid upon by some of the biggest. It was just in Las Vegas, and it's still, the crowds looked great.
My brother was there.
I don't know why they had the stage facing the sun. It's like I have no clue what was going on there. But nonetheless, I just think baseball's the worst. But football's painful. It's always painful, but you're right. But baseball's also so long. That's the other thing. Baseball's such a long season that it's every day. And then they'll get a win, like when the Reds got that win. Well, maybe that kind of snapped them out and got them out of the – nope, they look just as bad. It was 9-1 in the first inning yesterday. Come on. Like this isn't even like there's bad. And the Reds were bad during the rebuilds in the mid-2010s. Now this is embarrassingly bad. This is the worst Reds team I've ever seen. I'm sure I think there was one team that was worse as far as a worse start than this. But in my lifetime, it doesn't get any worse than this. But 518-1410, 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. You've heard what Kevin and I have to say. For me, it's baseball, but football is more painful. Like, we're angry and it sucks. But football, I know when the Browns lost last year, they lose a week. I'd be, gosh dang it, it's going to be 6 long-ass days until next Sunday when we finally shut you Bengals fans up, right? That's how it was. The Browns got beat by the Steelers one week, they held the Steelers to 16 points and still couldn't win. And then they go drop a 40 burger on the Bengals. A very good week for me, by the way. I felt
birthday week, right?
Purple hair, all that. Yeah, it was my birthday week. But it was such a long week. I was talking a lot of smack. Wasn't really sure exactly how confident I was in the smack talk, but you can't show any kind of weakness to Bengals fans. They know what weakness is. They live it every day, so they could spot it a mile away. No, I'm just joking. Not really. But 518-1410. I'm just joking around. But no, I think baseball's the toughest. It really is. 518-1410. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan, how are you, sir? Thanks for holding.
Hey, Justin, Kev.
Hey.
How are you guys today?
Good.
Good. No, I think you guys made a lot of good points. I'm with you. Baseball is easily the toughest one, especially when it's a small market team like the Reds, just because we know it's going to be, 3-4 years before it's a viable team that's going to be back on the field. So, mainly, I guess this is going to lead to a bigger question, but why is it that the NFL has a hard salary cap? The NBA has a hard salary cap, but MLB doesn't. And that really, to me, for a small market team like the Reds, kind of lends to this misery that we feel May 2nd, where we're 3-18, that we know we're going to have to wait forever. Why do they find it acceptable?
Well, the players, for one, the players union is one reason why I don't know the possibility of baseball just coming out and saying, you know what? There's a salary cap. That's it. There's a salary cap. But there's pros and cons on both sides for both the owners and the player side.
Right.
So that's what it comes down to. But I just don't get how anyone with the brain that can look at how much the NBA and the NBA has kind of messed it up a tad a bit too. But how you can look at the NFL and say, oh yeah, why would you not want to copy what they do? We talk about how sports, it's a copycat league all the time, but yet they look at what works for the NFL and they literally work their hardest to make sure that they don't accomplish that. It's not because football has more stars than baseball. It's literally the salary cap. The Bengals are going to lose Jesse Bates coming up. All right. When the Reds lose a Jesse Winker, you feel deflated because God knows when the next time we're going to have a Jesse Winker come through. The Bengals are going to lose Jesse Bates, be upset about it for maybe a week or two, and then they're like, okay, well, when's the next big star going to come to Cincinnati? Because that salary cap, it keeps everyone honest. It keeps the players recycled through the league. Everyone has a shot. In baseball, that's not the case, and I'm with you on that, Ryan. That's one reason why when your team's bad, there feels like there's no hope on the way. Football, your team's bad. The Bengals proved it. You could be a Super Bowl contender within a snap of a finger, and that's why football thrives and baseball doesn't.
Yeah, and you said it earlier, most baseball fans are loyal to the team. I'm the same way. I'm a Reds fan, and if the Reds aren't in the playoffs, I'm not watching the playoffs. I can't remember the last time I even really paid attention to a World Series, mainly because of this point where it's just, the Reds are not there. Now, Castellini said, he had an interesting quote before the season started, after he dumped all those players. He said, we have the 29th or 28th, largest market in baseball, but yet we've been averaging, I think, the 17th or 18th highest payroll the past 5 years. And if that's true, that's great. I don't have the numbers or to be able to look that up, but if that's true, that's great. But this year, with them dumping just everybody.
I think that's more embarrassing. For instance, when the Guardians, they're winning some games and they don't have a very big payroll. When a team doesn't have a large payroll and they're bad, it's easy to say, well, that's your fault because look at your payroll. What's worse is when you try and fail. So the Castellanos bragging about their payroll, to me, that's more embarrassing. That's like saying, man, I studied all night and still failed for that test, as opposed to the loser next to you that's like, I didn't even open the book, forget this test, and then fails. Well, no wonder he failed. He admitted he didn't study for the test. What's more embarrassing is when you study for the test and fail. How dumb do you feel? That's the Reds. Oh, look at us. We have a pretty solid, we spend money. Well, you spend money stupid then because it's not resulting in wins. So no, I forgot about that, Ryan, but that's I remember him saying that. I remember thinking that at that time, and you're right. And he was right. That's why they had Trevor Bauer. They got Sonny Gray. They had bigger contracts that came on the books in their trades with the Dodgers and the Indians at the time. So I think that, yes, he's right. They did have a bigger payroll. They brought in Moustakas and Castellanos, but that just is more embarrassing to me. The fact that you've spent money and still are getting the same results out of a team that doesn't. So there's that.
Well, and you're still spending money, but you're still the 18th, payroll, which that means there's 17 other teams that have a bigger, better, badder team than you do, which,
oh my
it's
gosh,
tough to brag about that.
But Ryan, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. But yeah, Kev, I remember when Castellini said that. He was like bragging about it. Well, we spent, we're top 5 in money spent the last couple of years, and you're still that bad?
So is he saying that
top 5? I forgot what the exact quote was, to be fair, but it was something about saying, don't say we don't spend money, we spend money. Well, then that's bad because you're still living in the cellar with all the teams that don't spend money, and we know why they suck. You spend money and still stink. That's even worse. That's more demoralizing.
So do Reds fans view that as like, all right, we spent money, we failed. They're kind of like, all right, let's take a step back and reevaluate everything that we're doing. Maybe we're doing something wrong. And while we're reevaluating things, we don't need to be spending a lot of money.
I said that right before the season started, and Sean, everyone said, oh, he must have gotten in trouble by Reds ownership. No, that wasn't it. I said, I'm not defending the Reds, but all I'm saying is what's the point? If you're going to pay Castellanos, you want to pay Castellanos a max contract to lose games? That doesn't make sense, which is why I could justify the Reds moving on from him. I could justify the Reds saying, okay, Winker's up for an extension. But again, putting money into him right now when we don't know what we have around him is kind of silly. So that's what I said. I said, right. I think their mindset, whether it's right or wrong, is we don't need to spend money just to spend money.
Right.
We don't just go bring in big name free agents just to lose with, because that's probably what they did in that 20 season.
Right.
We're going to bring in all these big names and not really have a plan. And then when they fall on their face, now they've wasted all this money. So there's that. But 518-1410, I definitely want to pick up with that here in a bit. But which sport is it the worst to be a fan of a last place, embarrassing, losing franchise like the Reds right now? Mr. Bob Love, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's happening, fellas? Man, you guys hit so many of my points, but I'll tell you this, Justin, that's why you need to apologize to Reds fans for saying to support that garbage. Remember when you had that rant a couple weeks ago, and it was so sincere. I felt bad for you, but you were so sincere. And like you said, hey, it's not the players' fault, and it's not. And because I'm not going, it has nothing to do with the players. Hey, I love you players, whoever you guys are. I don't even know who you are because I don't even watch nothing that has to do with the Reds. And the reason why the Reds aren't tanking, wake up, people. The Reds don't have a plan, and they haven't had a plan for a long, long, long time. Since Dusty Baker was on that bench, when have they consistently done anything? And like you said, Justin, to brag about, well, this is where our payroll's in the middle. Well, you know what? You suck even worse. That's not anything to brag about. That even proves you don't know what you're doing and that you don't have a plan. So that's something to keep it, not to even think about. And, remember when he came out, his boy came out and said, well, hey, you don't like it, we can move. You know what I say to that? Move. Because the bottom line is this. Here's the bottom line. If they ever got good, that's why you got cable TV. The Major League Baseball, I can still follow you. I don't care. But like you said, it's definitely baseball. Definitely baseball. And I think what makes it football a little bit easier to digest. And Kev, like you were saying, yeah, we get angry and stuff on Monday, but it's once a week.
Right.
And so every game means a lot. And, even when the Browns were going 0-16, guess what? I'm not even a Browns fan, but doggone it, you bet I tuned in every week because I want to see, are they going to really do this? Are they going to really do this? So you wanted to see that. And football and baseball, that's not a comparator anyway. As far as action and things like that, people absolutely are going to go with football a lot more than baseball. But I just don't even watch the Reds. When I watch the Reds, I may watch opening day, they win, and then I'll make a stupid statement like, you know what? We may not ever lose again. And then it's my fault. And what if they lost like 30 in a row since I've said that? Every year I say that, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I'm just done with baseball, man. I don't even watch them. They don't have a plan. I don't believe in nothing they say. And they suck. And really, is this really a surprise? I mean, this is bad. But, normally with the Reds, other than the last year with COVID, they're usually out of it by the end of May anyway, aren't they? And then we're looking for football. That's what the Reds always do. It's the same thing every year.
I always need the Reds to can you at least take us into June? Take us into June. I would prefer, in June, hands off to the NBA finals. And then when that's done, when you get into July, I know that's kind of a slower month, but like in the back of my head, no matter how slow of a sports day it is, I'm like, we're 1 month away from the NFL season. We're 1 month away from training camp kicking off. We're 1 month away from college practice getting underway. So I'm like, the least the Reds they couldn't even get us through April. They couldn't even get us through April.
It's terrible. But hey, I'm not worried about it, man. Hey, before I hang up, Justin, did you guys draft a kicker? Wait a minute.
Did draft a kicker. See, you guys, you think you're about to get me on something? You're wrong. But
he's been waiting for this all show, just to let you know.
Absolutely, because I remember last year at this time, Kev, you were in on it too. Hey, the Bengals drafted a kicker in the 5th round. You can pick one of them guys up off the street. Wow, man, how times have changed. But, that's awesome, man. Awesome. But, hey, let's look forward to training camp that we just had to draft. Forget the Reds, man. Let's not even talk about this garbage, man, because it depresses me. Training camp is right around the corner. OTAs or something's going to be coming up. So that's what we're looking at, man. That's where I am.
Well, what's coming up next? The schedule release, which I'll tell you why the Bengals are going to go 2-6 here when that schedule comes out to start the first half of the season. So that's your favorite time of year for me. I know. So there you go.
There we go. All right, man. We'll talk to you guys.
Hey, take care. 518-1410, 518-1410. Phones, calls coming in left and right. We'll get back to your calls on the other side. And to be clear, Mr. Bob Love, I never ripped the Bengals for taking a kicker last year. I kind of smirked at it. But the situations are vastly different. You took Jackson Carman, a 5th round graded offensive lineman in the 2nd round, and then didn't take an O-line in the 3rd. You took Joseph Asai, which is good. But then you take a kicker, like taking a kicker over an O-lineman when your quarterback's getting killed. That's different. And plus, you're not the Browns, baby. Get on our level. We'll be back in a moment.
Goodness.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Perfect air with a personal touch. Get up to $1,000 in rebates on a new Linux system or make no payments for 6 months when you finance a new Linux system for as little as $132 a month. Call William Brockman and Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 today to learn more or visit online at DaytonHeatingandCooling.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. License number Ohio license number 14911.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, recipient of Honda's President's Award. When your vehicle needs service, we make it convenient. Open 6 days a week, including all day Saturday. We also welcome same-day appointments and walk-ins as well. Our technicians are factory trained, and we offer a new state-of-the-art facility, clean waiting rooms, loaner cars, and free alignment checks as well. Ask for the $99.95 alignment special. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675. Between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Polking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends. Looking for a clean and safe venue for your new grad celebration? Check out our VIP suite at Polking Lane South. Set the mood for your event with a state-of-the-art VIP experience in our private 8 lanes VIP suite. Booking now for spring and summer events. Let the good times roll at Polking Lane South in Centerville on Kings Ridge Drive, Woodman Lanes in Kettering on Woodman Drive, and Polking Lanes in Dayton on Wilmington Avenue.
Want to see the recipe for the perfect meal? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for great food on the go with a chicken breast combo for only $5.99. You'll get our classic Famous Recipe chicken breast that's fresh, never frozen. It's honey dipped, hand breaded, and pressure cooked, then served up with a regular side, a fluffy biscuit, and a drink. This is why our chicken is famous. Get the combo that can't be beat with a chicken breast combo for only $5.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Over the last year and a half, we all learned some hard lessons. One of the most important is that you can't put off the inevitable. Hi, this is Mark Davis at Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery and Mausoleums. No matter how hard it is to think about, we all need a final resting place. When pre-planning with your funeral home, please remember that cemetery arrangements must also be made. Call us today at 937-890-1831 or visit our website at DaytonMemorialPark.com. And remember, Dayton Memorial Park is a beautiful place to celebrate life.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hello, Discover here to explain our cash back match. Here's how it works. We give you cash back for using your Discover card on the things you were going to buy anyway. Then we match that cash back in your first year. And that's why we call it Cashback Match. Now to recap and say cashback one more time. We match all the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year automatically. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
Getting enough sides so you don't have to share? That's finger licking good. Order the KFC Side Lovers Meal today and get 3 large KFC sides served with 8 pieces of tenders or fried chicken. Prices and participation may vary.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The Reds are 3-19 to start the season, the second worst start in franchise history. In fact, the last time they had to start this bad was quite a few decades ago, and they only had 1 win the first 20 games of the season. So there's that. But nonetheless, we welcome everyone back in. And the last part of the show, we had talked about with the Reds being so bad and how it's really tough to kind of navigate through this long season. I mean, we're 20 games into the season. There's still 140 to go. I mean, earlier Kev's like, they've already played 20 games. I'm like, yeah, the season's going fast. They still have 140 to go. That means we have 140 more games of this, fill in the blank. So, and it's tough. And it's like, I'm trying to think, every time we are fans of teams that lose at this level, it is really tough to get through that. And of all the sports out there, which sport is it the toughest to be able to be a fan of a last place historically bad team like this Reds team is? Because there's bad, and then there's this Reds team bad. For instance, if you look at the Major League Baseball standings, all right, and you look at, go through and look at the last place teams in Major League Baseball right now. Not every last place story is the same. I mean, the Baltimore Orioles are 8-14. All right, they can go on a 3-game win streak and be with series from within 500 again and be right back in the mix. I mean, the Kansas City Royals 7-14, the Rangers 8-14. The Washington Nationals 8-16, the Diamondbacks out of the West, they're 10-13. The point is, those are last place teams. Those fan bases don't feel really good about where they're at right now, but there is 140 games left. Some of those teams can go on some runs. The Reds are 3-19. As Kev Nash mentioned, they're 3-19, and they have a run differential of -65. -65. They have scored 67 runs in 22 games. They have given up 132 runs in that same stretch. They have lost 6 straight after ending an 11-game losing streak with the win. They now have lost 6 since then. They will not win tonight, mainly because they're off, but there's that peace of mind for you. But this is tough. This is a very tough stretch for Reds fans, and it's not getting any better. It's only going to get worse from here, just warning you. I mean, every time they get a guy off the IL, someone goes back on. Jonathan India, back on the IL again. It's tough to keep up with. But we asked, which sport is it the toughest to be a fan of a last-place team? Nolan Russell says baseball, because it lasts all summer and takes years to rebuild. You can turn football around in 1 to 2 years. And that was one of my main points as well. Baseball is the toughest sport to be a fan of a last place team, mainly because the Reds they're going to be the worst team in baseball this year, most likely. They're going to have the number 1 draft pick, and they could draft, Babe Ruth's great grandchild who will be just as great as Babe Ruth, right? But the bottom line is we won't know anything about that number 1 overall draft pick for another 4 or 5 years. So we as Reds fans have to be punished all year long, get to the draft, which no one watches or cares about, be told who the Reds drafted, be told why that player is going to be good, and then wait 5 years for it to happen. I mean, that's brutal. At least in the NFL, when your team's bad, you get instantly rewarded with a top draft pick. The Jaguars fans have had the number 1 draft pick the last 2 years. Sure, it's been hell watching their team lose a lot of games, but damn it, they felt awesome during this last draft. How tough has it been to be a Lions fan the last couple of years? They just got Garrett Wilson, and they just got Hutchinson. I'm sorry. They got 2 big-time players. All the losing stinks during the season, but man, it's like there's at least some hope. So then you get to the draft, you feel great about the draft, you feel like these players are going to come in and make an immediate impact, because more times than not they do. Football, it stinks that your team's in last, but man, it's a lot more manageable. From a mental health standpoint, it's a lot more manageable. The NBA, same thing. But the NBA is a little different because there's a draft lottery. Just because you're the worst team in basketball doesn't necessarily, you have the highest percentage, you have the highest odds to get that number 1 overall draft pick through the NBA draft lottery, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. The Knicks at times have been chasing that. They missed out on Zion Williamson, right? They've missed out on some big names over the years trying. Then you get teams like New Orleans, who in the last decade gets Anthony Davis, makes 1 or 2 playoff appearances, not runs with him, then can't keep him in New Orleans, and then they go and get Zion Williamson, who also feels like he's not going to stay in New Orleans much longer either. You see organizations like that getting multiple number 1 draft picks. The Cavs, they got LeBron James. I think that worked out pretty damn well for them, right? They got Kyrie Irving. That worked out pretty well. But how many other number 1 picks or first-round draft picks, high first-round draft picks did they get? Who's the big bust that they got, Kev? Anthony Bennett.
Bennett, yeah.
Bennett, man, that was a big-time bust. But they, one of the worst teams. You don't always get that number 1 overall pick. Some teams just have a magnet in their ball that just seems, or weighted ball that seems to lead to that popping out.
I remember the Orlando Magic, they drafted Shaq with the number overall draft pick, and then they got it the very next year. They drafted Chris Webber, then traded Chris Webber for Penny Hardaway. Like, talk about luck. Like, you get the big man, then you get the point guard.
And that's that 1-2 combo.
Yep.
Right there. Jacob Fightmaster, Kev, says college football. It's the first time I've heard this one. College football, because you need a miracle coach or player to even start looking like a decent program. Now, I normally would jump on this take and say, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but then you'll have someone else that'll counter and say, well, look at the Bearcats. Folks, do you realize how much had to go right for the Bearcats to make the playoff this last year? And I got so sick of the dumb takes. I'm going to get to the Bearcats in a moment. In fact, I'm going to write that down. I'm not even going to go there yet. I see what you're saying, but that's but see, Jacob, I can't go there because college football, if your team's bad, like if you're Boston College or like if you're a team like Rutgers, I get it. But they don't have that many fans anyways, right? Like, I don't really know how that works. But
look at the MAC schools not catching a stray.
When those teams are bad, yes, that's tough. And you don't know when they're going to turn it around again. But I'm trying to think for us, like as Ohio State fans, the worst season in my lifetime, I believe, is that Luke Fickell year. It wasn't because of Luke Fickell. That was just the circumstances and the fallout of the transition from Tressel to him and kind of the bridge guy between Tressel and Urban. And then with the, everything that went on with Tatgate, that was a tough year to navigate through and get through.
Yeah.
But again, it's Ohio State. And the reason it wasn't that bad is because it's Ohio State and that they're going to flip that switch again and that everything's going to be okay. Sometimes I think it's tougher to be a Bearcat program who you have a success like last year. You think that that's the new norm. You ain't getting back to the playoff anytime damn soon. So it's like, that could be tough too. But I don't know if I can get on board with that. Ron Howard says the Rays have a very small payroll, but seem to content. Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment, Ron. I know what you're talking about the Breads conversation from earlier. But 518-1410, which sport is it the toughest to be a fan of a last place losing team? Let's go to DJ. DJ, how are you, sir?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, gentlemen. But it is, I agree with your email about baseball. But your last caller from about 10, 15 minutes ago, couldn't agree with more. I listened to you a couple of weeks ago, like he did, about, you got to stay loyal as a fan and stick in there. Here's the deal, Justin. You and I are somewhat at the same place in life. I'm engaged, going to be married. Now, my family won't grow anymore, but chances are yours will. And Kevin can speak to this. When your family grows, your time gets more precious. Okay. And we talked about this last year a couple of times. My fiance is the biggest Reds nut I've ever known. My man cave is full of her Reds bobbleheads. Okay. And she's like you, stay loyal. That's my team, blah, blah, blah. And I feel sad for her because she still watches those games. She watches the game. I said, sweetheart, what's the score? 4-1, 4-2. I say, hey, just wait for it. And then later she's butthurt and says, what was the final? 10-2. And it's like, here's the deal. Time is too precious to spend it on losers. And I hate to say this, and I was thinking this weekend, you know who was probably the best Reds owner?
Marge
Shotz. Regardless of all that other garbage with her, she was passionate about winning. And she would do what it took to win.
That's not technically true. Marge was she got a reputation for being a very cheap owner as well, though. She got lucky based on that Big Red Machine run. Now, again, winning trumps all. I get that. But I do know what you're saying, and winning heals all. But she was also known for being a very cheap owner at that. But I do agree. There's a lot of winning under her belt, so I get that as well. I see your take on that as well.
She was cheap on the extras, but she would pay those salaries. Okay? It has been 32 years since the Reds have made a deep playoff run. And in last year, like you said, I spent more time watching the games last year than the previous 5 years combined, just because they were so exciting. And you knew they had a chance every game to pull it off. And, you have stuff like Castellano. They didn't even talk to this guy. And the guy wanted to stay in Cincinnati. And you have to figure out what's the motivation. And I've said this before. You want a team owner who's passionate about winning. They're not looking at it dollars and cents. And I know that doesn't make sense for a business person. But you want your team owner to make their fortune somewhere else. And whatever it is, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, that's their passion, and they want to win it. And it is the one word. I'm sitting here thinking, the one word to describe the Cincinnati Reds this year, they're pathetic. I mean, these guys come up to bat. You don't know their names. You don't know their history. I tell you what, I would love to see them play a 7-game series against the Dragons and see who would win it. It'd probably go to the 6th or 7th game. But it's going to be a long, long summer. And again, like your last caller said. It's not even
summer yet. That's the sad thing.
Yeah. Like your last caller said, they're threatening to leave. Bye, boy. Bye. We got cable and everything else and so much other activities in life to keep us busy. Well, let's face it. There's the NFL and then there's everything else anyway. And just like you said, get us to May, get us to, April, May. June, we got basketball, the playoffs. And then after that, there's that short period of July. You can do your vacations, work around your house, and then football starts. But it is, I feel for the Bengals. And the Reds fans, and I'll tell you what happened when the Bengals finally turned it around and got serious about winning is when those stadiums got empty. That's the only thing they understand, Justin. They understand. You still flock to those stadiums and have high attendance. You're going to get the same thing you got next year as you got this year. And it's something I've said on your program before. If you accept mediocrity, that's all you ever get. That's my 2 cents worth, guys.
I mean, appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Take care, DJ.
You too.
518-1410, 518-1410. I mean, wow. And again, the March shot, from the owner in the 70s, I get that, but I'm just saying over on general, ownership, like, don't confuse, and I've always said this, don't confuse winning under an owner, making that owner a good owner. Like, sustainability matters.
Right.
You can get lucky with it. Like I said, I don't think Mike Brown's a great owner just because the Bengals had a couple good drafts and were in the Super Bowl last year. I don't think the Browns have good owners just because they finally won a playoff game 2 years ago. So again, I don't think the Reds, I wasn't alive during those runs, obviously the 70s and the good teams in the 80s, obviously the 90s World Series team. I was one, if that, whenever they won that World Series in 90. But man, like, don't confuse good ownership with a string of winning or even 1 year of winning, because I don't think that necessarily is the case. Sustainability matters. Just like I always say the same thing about college coaches. I think that, you're a no-name college coach. All of a sudden your team gets hot. You go on an NCAA tournament run and everyone's like, now that's one of the more underappreciated coaches in college basketball. And then you don't hear from that. You don't hear that guy's name ever again because they never go on a run again. I think that you have to show that you could do it over multiple recruiting classes. You have to, not just necessarily win championships, but tournament runs. I said the same thing about Archie Miller. The reason a lot of times that you see some of these mid-major coaches bounce after tasting a little success is because their stock has never been higher. I believe Archie wasn't confident that he could continue the success at Dayton. Otherwise, he would have stayed at Dayton. You know why Luke Fickell is a badass? Is because he felt that, hey, people are saying that, I'm going to ride the coattails of this class and go take a bigger job. No, he's confident he could stick around and redo it. If Luke Fickell wasn't confident in his ability to be able to turn that program or to sustain that program success heading into the Big 12, I believe he would have bounced. And I'm not a big Luke Fickell guy like most of you are, but I do give him credit for sticking around because I do believe the coaches that don't have the confidence in themselves to redo it, they bounce because they're like, man, I don't know. I would have to gamble on myself to do it again. I think I need to bounce now while they are, jump now while my stock's at an all-time high. Archie wasn't confident he could redo what he did with that Scoochie Smith team, that Scoochie Smith class. I'm sorry. I don't think he was confident he could keep that going. I'm curious what he's going to do at Rhode Island. Those coaches fascinate me when they do that, when they have success with one particular class and then bounce. I'm always a big fan of the coaches that can take a class, take them on a deep tournament run, hit reset, take the team on a deep tournament run again with a different class. That's why I like what Coach Nagy does at Wright State. He has taken how many different classes to the NCAA tournament? It's not like, they only went once with Loudon Love, and then they lose Loudon Love, and then they're right back at it again. And I think they're going to have a whole other class that gets there because that's a sign of a good coach. Same thing with ownership. Okay, you got to the playoffs, big whoop. Can you sustain it? Can you lose Jesse Bates? Can you lose key players and replace them in the draft and then financially have smart GMs that are able to keep your roster in check? He got me on a whole other side rant over here, Kev, but
me,
not you, just you guys have me on one, basically. So there's that.
Fun fact about UC, 9 players drafted in the NFL draft, 0 from Texas.
Like 0 of them are from Texas, 0 players from Texas, like 0 Texas players. So there's that. There you go. But 518.
Take that, Big 12.
Anthony, how are you, sir? Hey. Anthony, what's up, man?
Yeah. Hey, guys got a great topic today.
Thank you, man. What you got for us?
Listen, as far as the Reds, the AA/minor league team, as bad and as dysfunctional as this Reds and this organization is, why is Nick Kroll, the GM, getting escape? Why is he? He should be taking a share of this blame too. I realize that ownership, he's doing what ownership says, trim payroll, but it seems like he's why is he getting
are you asking why is he getting a pass?
Yes, exactly.
I've never seen anything. This is how hated the Reds ownership is right now, that you haven't heard me bitch about David Bell once this season. Because no matter what, David Bell's not the problem. In fact, I think he's going to be let go soon. David Bell's going to be let go soon, and I think that's a horrendous decision because he has no manager out there can do or can manage what roster he's been given. And you talked about Nick Kroll, Anthony, the general manager for the Reds. I feel bad for him as well. I don't care if you go get the best general manager in baseball and put him in that Reds front office. As long as he is strapped based on the restrictions that have been put in place by Reds ownership, there's not a GM out there that's going to be able to do well in Cincinnati. This isn't an ownership problem.
I agree.
Not a manager, it's not a GM. That's just my take on it.
Okay. I agree with that. I agree with that, but this is a very dysfunctional front office. I mean, there is a lack of plan, a lack of direction, and I mean, I'm not planning on going to one game to see that AA/minor league team. This team couldn't beat a girls softball team.
Why you got disrespect girls softball? I mean, so you're saying they can't be? But yes, they are really bad right now. There's no question about it. Anthony, when's the last game you've been to? You're getting angry. What was the last game you've been to?
Last year when they played my other team, the Chicago White Sox, in the interleague series.
You have 2 teams, and the team from Chicago.
One for the American League. There's one for the American League. I've been a lifelong White Sox fan since Tony La Russa back in the 80s.
All right, fair enough.
There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Not when your other option is the Reds at this point. So I feel you. Hey, Anthony.
Well, the Shy Sox are my other option. So
you have a lot of teams, man. But hey, appreciate the call, buddy. Take care. All right, 518-1410. 518-1410. So the Bearcats. It's been a while.
Oh boy,
it's been a while. I complimented Luke Fickell. This isn't a Fickell thing, but like the Bearcat media, they exist. Found that out last year. Weird. That was mean because they were nice to us. I have no clue why I did that. That was more a shot at the team than the writers. They do a great job. I didn't mean that. My bad. I'll take that back. But here's the deal.
team.
But like, I hate when people do this like nerdy little thing of like, oh, look at all the draftees from the Bearcats, and you said they didn't deserve to be there. Folks, I think you're really missing the point on why people were critical of a non-Power 5 team making the playoff. And if you don't get it now, you never will. But I'll talk about that on the other side. But yes, the Bearcats were beyond impressive in the NFL draft. It's amazing what happens when, all the players come back for another full season. Some of those players would have been dispersed from last year's draft, just say, but they all came back. They took advantage of an opportunity. They saw an opportunity. They took it. That's fine. I'm just saying that it's called backloading. That's all. It's not a big deal.
Who said Sauce Gardner was going to be a top 5 pick last year?
I mean, he was good last year.
I'm just saying. No. I'm trying to pat myself on the back.
We don't do that on this show.
Oh, I do.
Hashtag Kev Nash was right. All right, folks. We'll be back in a moment. 518-1410. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on the other side.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters.
Or a mother who's in between jobs
and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hustle up. We've got 8 more floors to go before lunch.
Sarusha's window washing business is reaching new heights.
Wipe, and let's roll.
They need more certified cleaners to keep online reviews crystal clear.
Team, I know we're hustling, but watch for streaks. Candace, can you give me a hand over here?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Mike, what are you doing?
I'm getting ready for Drive One Car and Truck Spring Sale.
That sounds great, but why are you revving your car up like that?
Well, they say if you ain't first, you're last, and I want to get those deals before they're gone. Drive One has 2 locations in Springfield, one lot with pickup trucks and large SUVs, and the other with cars and crossovers. Check them out on Facebook and see all the great things people say. They service and back their cars with a limited powertrain warranty for 6 months. They do things the right way, and online at driveonecarandtruck.com.
At the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, we help veterans and their dependents navigate the process of applying for benefits administered by the VA. We can assist with VA claims, pensions, and a variety of benefits, including emergency financial assistance, transportation, and legal services. If you are a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, a wide range of services may be available to you, always at no cost to the veteran. We are honored and proud to serve all Miami Valley veterans. Contact us today at 937-225-4801.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get access. Well, not anymore, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide with deals like our Silver Unlimited plan for just $45 a month and no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for $249, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Happy Mother's Day from the Flower Man. This year for Mom, we have beautiful, cutable arrangements at $12.99 and a dozen roses for only $12.99. Inconceivable. Thank you, Flower Man, and thank you, Mom. Roses, arrangements, and flowers from all over the world for Mom. Go to flowermanflowers.com. That's flowermanflowers.com.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 72. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy, a low near 58. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a high near 75. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, is this line secure?
Franco's cybersecurity firm secured a contract, and that's all we're allowed to say.
We have a green light on hiring.
He needs web security professionals with a military background.
3 teams of 4, 24-hour rotations, but Protocol Zulu is on a need-to-know basis.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Our freedom depends on secure and honest elections. But the radical left wants to weaken voter ID requirements, legalize ballot harvesting, and even allowing non-citizens to vote. And liberal politicians in Washington are trying to take over our elections, removing Ohio's own local election officials so they can put unelected federal bureaucrats in charge. But Frank LaRose is fighting back. As Ohio's Secretary of State, Frank LaRose fights election fraud, removing deceased voters from the rolls, demanding that every ballot have a hard copy paper trail, and ordering bipartisan audits after every election. It's why President Trump endorsed Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose.
Frank has our complete and total endorsement. You did a fantastic job. Thank you, Frank. Total, complete endorsement.
As an Army Green Beret, LaRose protected our freedoms around the world, and now he's protecting our elections here at home. Frank LaRose for Ohio Secretary of State.
Paid for by LaRose for Ohio.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
People who suffer from long-term chronic joint pain spend so much of their time acting, putting up a carefree front. It's exhausting.
I was really tired of trying to act like I wasn't in pain because I was in pain all the time.
Rick Rawlings didn't want everyone else to know that he was coping with agonizing shoulder pain 24/7.
Yes, I had to put on a face to cover up my pain.
But then Rick found QC Kinetics, offering new lasting treatments for joint pain using natural biologics. Treatments designed to restore and repair joint tissue with no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The results were amazing.
I am very glad. It changed my life doing the QC Kinetics. Today, my shoulders feel wonderful. The cranky Rick is gone. He's not grouchy anymore.
No more acting. Feel like yourself again with a call to QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325.
Ready to make your family meal famous? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for the 16-piece family meal at a great price. You'll get 16 pieces of our classic Famous Recipe Chicken that's fresh, never frozen. It's honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and pressure-cooked to perfection, along with 4 of our large sides and 8 fluffy biscuits. This is the family meal upgraded. Get the meal with the most when you try our 16-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Body Shop Manager at Germain Honda Beaver Creek. Our technicians have over 125 years of total experience. That means we can repair your vehicle correctly and efficiently. So when you need a dependable body shop, we're here. And we repair all makes and models with new state-of-the-art equipment to get you back on the road quickly. Plus, we offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Stop by and see us. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, State Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Let's face it, you all have outdoor home projects to do. Mad River Mulch and Topsoil is here to help as the area's leading provider of processed topsoil, garden mix, animal bedding, and mulch. We cater to the professional landscaper, contractor, and the DIY homeowner. That's you. Buy in bulk, mulch, rock, topsoil, and sand. No matter the size of the project, we can help, and we deliver, often the same day. We also carry firewood, bedding, and fuel pellets. Mad River Mulch and Topsoil, just off I-70 and Route 4 in Springfield. Order online at madrivermulch.com.
If you have certain chronic conditions, such as heart disease,
asthma,
diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older, 52,
36,
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm going to ask my doctor
about getting vaccinated
with Prevnar 20. How do you make the most of your land? Everyone has their way. The Nelsons depend on their John Deere Gator XUV 835R to get
from point A to point B with decoys and the dogs.
As much as we got going on, it's all about efficiency.
And if you ask the Mosers what they use their Gator XUV 590M for, they tell you.
The most fun we have on the Gator is just ripping around the property.
There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle squeals or grinds when you slow down or just isn't stopping like it used to, you may need new brake rotors and pads. Now through May 24th at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 15% off a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads and 2 rotors. Restore safe braking and save money now at O'Reilly Auto Parts or order online at O'ReillyAuto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Do you have joint pain in your knees or hips or shoulder or back? Pro football legend Emmitt Smith knows how disruptive it is.
How can you focus? How can you be at your optimal best when your body's under attack by pain?
That's why Emmitt's such a proponent of QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is here with regenerative options using natural biologics, non-surgical alternatives that offer lasting relief for pain in your knees, hips, lower back, and shoulders.
This natural biological treatment gives them the chance to get back in the game and to have a normal life.
QC Kinetics treatments laser focus on areas of intense pain, allowing your body to heal itself with no drugs, so you can focus on normal life.
Walking up the stairs without pain, getting on your bicycle without pain, running again, playing with the kids.
Your consultation is absolutely free.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325.
Stop by Family Dollar and find balloons, decorations, candles, and even a card to celebrate Mom on her day. There's more for Mom at Family Dollar.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, welcome back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. So the NFL draft wrapped up over the weekend. And, of course, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns, Steelers, Kev Nash and I, who Kev will be back coming up here in just a moment. We all, of course, talked about the fact that, we kind of gave our grades or what have you. But, now is where the takeaways, or I guess the grades, if you will, start coming in. But, not just from a pro standpoint, but from a college standpoint. And the one thing that was really impressive, Sauce Gardner going number 4 overall. to the Jets was huge. And that was pretty dang cool. And you hear a lot of people out there say Sauce Gardner, outside of Hutchinson and some others, the most talented player in this year's draft. So the Jets got a good one. Obviously able to get Garrett Wilson from the Buckeyes and get Sauce Gardner from the Bearcats. Ohio was pretty friendly to the Jets. Now, with that being said, now it's time for the hot takes to start coming in. First of all, Bearcat media. I'm not calling out anyone in particular, and then a lot of this is Bearcat fans doing a lot of chirping. But let's get one thing clear: the Bearcats are in the college football playoff. Super fantastic. And that's the one thing we're going to talk about here. But keep in mind, the Bearcats were in the playoff. The Bearcats were a very good football team this past year, but the Bearcats benefited from a lot of breaks that had to go their way. Let's just be clear. At the end of the day, it just comes down to that. A lot of breaks had to go right for them to be able to make the college football playoff. They did what they were supposed to in regards to taking care of business. They finished the season 13-1, their only loss coming against Alabama in the college football playoff. And they actually fared pretty well against the Tide, of course. But, really it wasn't about what they did against the Tide that was the talking point. It was about what they did to get to the Tide to begin with. Now, I say this because all the talking points for the Bearcats coming out of the draft focused more around this. Nine drafted players. The Bearcats had 9 players drafted from that Bearcats roster. Okay, that is more than Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. That's also more than Florida, Florida State, Miami, and USC combined. So they had 9 draft picks, more than Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. Those are 4 common college football playoff teams. Super. Now, if you combined all the draft picks made up of Florida, Florida State, Miami, and USC, if you combined all the players drafted from those programs combined, it still doesn't equal the amount of talent that came off that Bearcats roster. So you want me to give the Bearcats extra love. And you see stuff like this, look at all the pro players on Cincinnati's roster. So, okay, that's great. But I promise you this much. I'm pretty sure that Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, and Oklahoma would also run through that American Conference schedule and embarrass every single team in front of them. Okay? So when you say things like, this reporter right here, for all those who complained that Cincinnati didn't deserve to be in the college football playoff, I hope you realize just how loaded this team was, talking about how there was 9 draft picks. You don't understand that just because you have talented players on a roster doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be pushed through to the playoff, in which, by the way, that was the case this year for the Bearcats. But for those saying that they didn't deserve to be in the college football playoff, it had nothing to do with my take of, I don't think they have talent on the roster. I know that they have talent on the roster, which is why I held them to the same standard that I do every damn team with talent on the roster. Okay, for instance, the Bearcats, so they beat Notre Dame 24-13. That was fantastic. Okay. You beat Temple 52-3. And man, it looked like they were about to rout the American Conference schedule that they had in front of them. But then you get to Navy. If Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan, or Oklahoma beat Navy 27-20, there would be some doubts. There would be some people saying, you know what? That's not great. They played Tulane the very next week. 31-12. Now, Ohio State won by 3+ touchdowns against Tulane earlier in the year. And Ohio State was absolutely torched for only winning by 3+ touchdowns against Tulane earlier in the year. Cincinnati beats Tulane 31-12. And oh my goodness, number 1 seed. Hand them the national championship now. They beat Tulsa 28-20. So again, we're talking Navy, Tulane, Tulsa. 3 straight 1-possession wins. They were down early and played horrible against South Florida, but they pulled away late for a 45-28 win, but you're still giving up 28 points to South Florida. Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, those programs will be destroyed from a perception standpoint if they give up that many points to South Florida. Then they go to East Carolina, 35-13. That was a game that they pulled away late again. Houston, 35-20, they won. Okay, so the point was there was a certain stretch where the Bearcats were not blowing teams out. They were not destroying competition that if Ohio State, Oklahoma, and others, they would have been a 21-point favorite against all of those teams. And yet Cincinnati was barely coming out of those games untouched. that to me was why I was critical of the Bearcats a season ago. It's not that I don't like the Bearcats. It's not that I don't think they're a good football team. I didn't doubt that they had NFL talent on the roster. They had 9 guys drafted, which is all the more reason why I was critical of the fact that they did not blow some of those teams out by more. That's all the more reason why 3 straight weeks winning by 1 possession was one of the main reasons I was critical of the Bearcats. So don't do this holier-than-thou do-gooder thing where you're like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you doubted the Bearcats. This justifies just how good they were. No, that doesn't justify just how good they were. That justifies my take even more than it justifies yours. It justifies why I was in the right to hold them to a higher standard than Bearcat media and Bearcat fans themselves. Because if Ohio State would have gone 3 straight weeks against American Conference teams, okay, if they would have gone 3 straight weeks against American Conference teams and won by 1 possession for 3 straight weeks, that would have been held against them. It wouldn't have maybe kept him out. My point is this: the Bearcats deserve to be in the playoff. But you look at the level of competition that they went up against. That didn't necessarily put them in position to say that they guaranteed to own it. It took Ohio State losing twice. It took Oklahoma losing twice. It took a lot of the premier it took Clemson taking 3-4 steps backwards. How many programs had to fail before Cincinnati could succeed? This wasn't Cincinnati coming up through the ranks and fighting through all the odds. They did what they were supposed to as far as beating everyone that was in front of them. But they also were held to the standard of, hey, if you want to sit at the adult table and you want to be viewed as one of the big boys, you got to be held to the same standard as the big boys. And that standard was blowing out bad competition. How many times do we hold that against teams? Well, Alabama, they struggled in week 7 against, a bad LSU team. They only won by 2 possessions. That Alabama, are they really that strong this year? But man, Cincinnati, they edge out Navy, they edge out Tulane, they edge out Tulsa, and my goodness, they're throwing parades. Like, we got to stop with that. So the media that's coming out and doing this, for those of you who complained that the Bearcats didn't deserve to be in the college football playoff, I really hope you realize just how loaded this team really was. And they go on to highlight the 9 draft picks, which was more than Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma. That is great. But all you're doing is proving why I was right and you were wrong. Why I was right for holding them to that high standard. If you have a roster loaded with 9 NFL players, more draft picks than anyone else in college football, especially the big boys, then I believe I was in the right for holding you to a standard that I hold Ohio State, Alabama, and everybody else to. So there's that. I'm not bashing Cincinnati. I'm mainly just basically pleading my case is to say you thought that you're getting a one-up on me. You're getting a one-up on yourself. You're proving yourself wrong, and you're proving me right. It's a bad connection, but I think we're back up and rolling. There we are. So we're back up and rolling. But 518-1410, give us a call. Your phone calls on the other side of the break. But I don't believe I was wrong for being so heavily critical of the Bearcats during that month stretch where they barely edged out American Conference teams by 1 possession. If that same streak happened, if Ohio State struggled, I know that they struggled to beat Nebraska. Won by 1 possession. And the media jumped all over Ohio State. And you only beat Nebraska, a bad Nebraska team, by 1 possession. That happens. But when I do it to the Bearcats, it's, oh my gosh, how could you do that to the Bearcats? They're doing what they're supposed to. When the Buckeyes doing what they're supposed to? Kind of, except I actually believe that the Buckeyes needed to beat Nebraska by more and not lose to Oregon and not lose to that crap team up north. Come on now. There's all fair expectations. But there's that. All right. We'll be back in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Okay, Cincinnati Reds fans, it's time for Roof Truth's Triple Play from Enterprise Roofing. Roof Truth number 1, your roofer should be as dependable as your roof. Roof Truth number 2, your roofer should be in business for longer than the life of your roof. Roof Truth number 3, your roofer should live where you do. Enterprise Roofing is a proud partner of the Cincinnati Reds. For all of your roofing needs and to try our roof cost calculator, visit rooftruths.com.
Homestead Feed and Supply is proud to introduce a new product line straight from Texas. Stock Show Secret Products and Flex Appeal. Make your project look the best. Only available at Homestead Feed and Supply. New Carlisle. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Is your child eager to learn but overly active, easily distracted, and falling through the cracks in the classroom? Summit Academy is the perfect learning environment for students that need the extra push. Their teachers embrace the academic, social, and emotional success of kids who learn differently. They're a nonprofit, tuition-free public school in Dayton, Columbus, Middletown, and Xenia. They educate all students, but specialize in autism and ADHD. For more information, visit summitacademies.org or call 1-844-549-8496.
If you work remote, Staples has you covered.
A mid-mod desk chair to rejuvenate my ho-hum workspace.
Staples has you covered.
A place to put my papers so I can be more productive.
A storage cabinet that I can roll out of the way on weekends.
Staples has you covered with remote workspace solutions. And now get 25% off storage and filing products, chair mats, decor, and lighting with the purchase of an office chair or desk. Explore solutions for your remote workspace at Staples, the working and learning store. Ends 5/28 in store only.
Refresco, the world's largest independent bottler of beverages, is holding open interviews every Tuesday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 300 Industry Drive in Carlisle, Ohio. Offers on the spot and a generous hiring bonus depending on position. Excellent pay, work culture, and benefits. Recently increased wages and an annual performance bonus. Located right off I-75 near Austin Landing. Apply today at refresco.com/careers and enter Carlisle in the search field. Don't miss the open interviews every Tuesday. Refresco is an equal opportunity employer.
Frickers Everyday Values are even better. Even better. Earn double points on everyday value purchases for a limited time. Download the Frickers app and watch your points double on everyday value menu selections. Monday, boneless frickin' chicken wings. Tuesday, traditional frickin' chicken wings. Wednesday, steak dinner. Thursday, frickin' chicken chunks. Double the points, double the savings, double the value. Make your money go further Monday through Thursday with everyday values when you dine in and download the Frickers app. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
God, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Uma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Uma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Uma?
Yep. Switching to Uma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Uma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Uma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Uma, smart communications for the smarter business.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I'm with Dr. Sharon Parsons, past president of the Ohio Dental Association. Soft teeth run in my family, so going to the dentist won't help, right?
Actually, your family history does not necessarily determine whether you'll get cavities or develop gum disease. Your own behavior can prevent dental disease. By regularly seeing a dentist and brushing twice a day, flossing once a day, and avoiding tobacco products and sugary foods and drinks, you can put yourself on the right path to having healthy teeth and gums for a lifetime.
ODA member dentists are located throughout the state, are dedicated to providing the highest quality care, are bound by the highest ethical standards, and obtain superior ongoing education and training. On your next visit, ask if your dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
The Cincinnati Reds are off tonight, and we'll let you know when they ever get started on the season. 3-19, the record to start, and it's been a rough one. That is for sure. We welcome you back. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. So now that Kev's back, I can kind of reset this a bit and get Kev's take and then get to the phones with your reactions. But the Bearcats, of course, very impressive in this previous weekend's NFL draft. 9 Bearcats selected over the 7-round NFL draft this past weekend. 9 draft picks, Kev. That's more than Alabama. They had more guys drafted than Michigan, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. And then if you combine all the draft picks by Florida, Florida State, Miami, and USC, if you combine all the draft picks from those 4, pretty big-time programs, they still don't equate to the amount of draft picks made for the Bearcat players this past weekend. That's what kind of draft that they had. So if you recall this past season, I was critical, but not critical to the point to where I was trying to necessarily say that what they were doing wasn't impressive. I mean, I thought that the start to the season for the Bearcats was more impressive than the actual finish, even though they did finish in the college football playoff. But there was a 3-week stretch where we talked about the pressure starting to get to the Bearcats when the college football playoff rankings started coming out. The noise starts to pick up a bit. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when the very first college football playoff rankings came out after the UCF win, 56-21, over UCF, the college football rankings came out. Everyone was super excited. Oh man, they weren't necessarily met with the top 4 ranking right off the bat, but they were right up there. Everyone's like, oh, there's a path to get there. And then they followed that up, Kev, with a 27-20 win over Navy. Okay, you can have an off week. That was still a win. Then they won after that. There was 31-12 against Tulane, but that was a late fourth quarter touchdown that pulled them away. Before that, it looked like, Tulane didn't look as well matched with Cincinnati, but Cincinnati was not bludgeoning them either. Now, people get mad when I bring that up, but style points matter. Blowing teams out matters. Winning is not all that matters. You have to win and win convincingly. That wasn't a convincing win. Remember that 28-20 win against Tulsa that late? I mean, they had to literally push to kind of get that win. I mean, they almost lost that game. South Florida, 45-28. They gave up 28 to South Florida, but it was an interception late and then a score late. But outside of that, I mean, that was still a 1-possession game late into the fourth quarter. So there was that 1-month stretch where the Bearcats, they didn't look like a playoff team, but yet they were getting playoff treatment. The committee was kind of hovering them around there. And all I kept saying was, they don't look the part. If Ohio State was to play Rutgers and to play Illinois and to play Maryland and to play, what's another bad program? Michigan. But if they were to play 4 bad programs and only eked out 1-possession wins in 4 straight weeks, I'm not saying they'd be eliminated from playoff contention, but it would be a talking point. We would criticize the Buckeyes. I would criticize the Buckeyes. I'd be like, what do you mean to tell me you're only 1 touchdown better than Illinois? If Ohio State only beat Tulsa by 1 possession, we would rip them. When they only beat Tulane by 3+ touchdowns last year, we ripped them. So we hold these bigger programs to standards where you don't only need to beat those smaller teams, you need to show that you're the big man on campus. You need to show that college football playoff teams, that they don't hang around with the loser kids over here. They sit at the cool kids table, right? That was my whole criticism of the Bearcats. I never once said that they weren't good or that they didn't have good players on their team. I just thought that they didn't look the part at times. They ran the table. They were undefeated. That's super. I would hope you can go undefeated when you play Navy, Tulane, Tulsa, South Florida, SMU, and East Carolina, and Houston, a top 25 team that, solid. But I don't think even if Ohio State plays Houston that we're shaking in our boots playing Houston. Cincinnati fans, you were nervous playing Houston. That's the point I was trying to make. Don't say the Bearcats are on the level of these bigger programs when they get nervous playing teams like Houston and East Carolina, while Ohio State's playing Michigan State and they're playing Michigan and they're playing Penn State and they're playing Wisconsin and those types of teams. That's the difference. So the tweet that came out, Brent Sobleski, my dude, he says, for all those who complained that the Bearcats didn't deserve to be in the playoff, I hope that they realize how loaded this team was. Talked about those 9 draft picks as we talked about. And I said, actually, those 9 draft picks that you're talking about, that's all the more reason why I'm right. That's all the more reason why I was justified for saying, what are you doing? You have all this NFL talent and you're letting these bad teams hang around. Kev, I'm not backing off. I said, in fact, I'm doubling down. This actually justifies my take. This makes me correct more than it makes anybody else correct. While everyone out there was saying, well, all that matters is winning. Well, yes, winning is important, but winning convincingly. So much had to go right for the Bearcats to make the playoffs. Clemson had to take 3 steps back. Ohio State had to lose twice. Oklahoma had to lose twice. How many of these teams traditionally lose the way that they lost this past season? A lot had to go right. There was no other team. Like the committee got bailed out. The committee never got put in a position where they had to have a 1-loss Clemson team and a 0-loss Cincinnati team. And we all know that a 1-loss Clemson team is probably getting in over a 0-loss conference champion Cincinnati Bearcat team. But the committee got bailed out. You don't have to like what I'm saying, but the reality is the committee got bailed out. The Bearcats never had to really be picked between them and another team. They won the way they were supposed to. They won them all. But, man, I'm telling you, I still to this day, this only proves my point even more, Kev. They should have looked more dominant because no team with 9 NFL prospects on their roster should be letting Tulane and them hang around in a 1-month straight process. That's all.
Yeah, they should have blew those teams out. I look at it like them. After that big win, after Notre Dame and everything like that, one of Fickell's toughest jobs that he had to do was to convince the players, like, hey, we still have to win these games. Because I got a lot of sense from them, like, all right, we took care of Notre Dame. We took care of UCF. We're in long as we win. And that's a thing that you have to, a mindset you have to start pushing to build a program. Last year, they've been good teams.
Yep.
But to build a program, what Ohio State has is a program. What Alabama has is a program, something that's going to continue in the snowball and keep on rolling. We're going to find out if UC is an elite program over the next 2 years because, yeah, they're definitely going to take a step back. If you lose 9 dudes to the NFL, you're probably going to take a step back. And the caliber of these dudes that went to the NFL, first rounder and Sauce Gardner, Alec Pierce is a second rounder, and another second rounder. So you lose those caliber guys and starters for your team, you're going to probably take a step back and everything like that. I don't think anybody's going to be expecting them like, all right, man, you got to go at least 11-1 or you're suspect. But the following year, you got to bounce back. So I think that was one of the hardest sales for Coach Fickell and the guys and everything like that. So I'm not disagreeing. They should have been blowing more teams out, no doubt about it. But one thing I will say is, there's so many different arguments that were coming at UC. Your argument about, all right, if they're as good as everybody says they are, if they have as much talent, they should be blowing these teams out. And then the other argument is, well, they're not that good because they're not producing X amount of NFL players. Like, so from their perspective, it's a ton of different arguments that they're trying to shoot down. So they shot down that argument about not producing NFL talent with this. This still doesn't negate the fact that they should have been blowing these lesser opponents out. And I will say this about UC and putting 9 dudes in the NFL. Only one dude out of that class was, quote unquote, an elite prospect coming out of high school. That was Jerome Ford. Obviously, he transferred from Alabama to UC and balled out of control. So with these guys coming in there, 2- and 3-star guys, that speaks to the development that Coach Fickell and his staff does. I mean, nobody knew who Ahmad Sauce Gardner was. Nobody wanted Desmond Ridder. Nobody wanted Kobe Bryant coming out of high school. Like nobody wanted Majay Sanders coming out of high school. Nobody wanted these dudes, at a big program level. So this speaks to the development that Fickell and the coaching staff did to help these guys get to the NFL, and obviously all their hard work.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for us today, folks. Appreciate everyone who tuned in and hung out with us here on a Feel Good Monday.
I thought it was Tuesday. I was about to say Tuesday.
Trust me. It's officially Tuesday as we wrap up the show. Folks, have a great night. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll do it again tomorrow. And again, a lot of reaction today, of course, as the NFL draft wrapped up over the weekend. A lot of A's handed out in the AFC North draft reaction, of course, and good drafts for the Browns. Very good draft for the Bengals. That's starting to become a pattern now. So, good things on the horizon, or continued success for the Bengals on the horizon, most likely, if they can continue this, if they hit on some of these picks. But, Kenny Pickett to Pittsburgh, all interesting stuff. But that wraps it up for us. Have a great night. No Reds baseball tonight. We're back at it again tomorrow. And until tomorrow, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM.
Listen, stream, watch It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Welcome to Allstate, where you can really control your savings. Because when you drive less, you save more with pay per mile. So you're really in control of your savings, only paying for the miles you drive. Yeah, life is good when you're in the driver's seat. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Not available in every state. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Norfolk, Illinois.
I think we're in a time loop.
Because we get White Hot Ranch nacho fries every day at Taco